Let's get back into the last 2 hours of a trading session that's turning into a bit of a choppy one across the board, let's be honest. There are individual names, individual areas in the market that are positive, but overall kind of a back and forth type of day. I was just noticing Bitcoin continuing to not only hold 42, but back above 43,000, continuing to march higher. Retook that support going back to the end of last week around 41.2. And has never looked back. So good look for BTC. We'll touch on some of the crypto names coming up here. Oil itself really has been a little bit disappointing today, but we had a bit of a sell-off, to say the least here. XOM with the equities, individual equities. XOM straight downside out of the gate this morning. It did bounce, but has been sideways ever since. It's worth noting on those. Volume just not there today, right across the board. Relative volume in the energy group, non-existent. Crude down 1.3% currently, with about 30 minutes to go in the pit session over in Chicago. There's Tesla, the big winner on the day so far. A nice look, 2.6% back higher after the earnings debacle that was last week. Uber with a nice day as well, 2% to the upside for Uber today. Amazon, Costco standing out. Coke up there as well, 0.5%, top right corner. CRM almost 2%. Adobe 2.25%. So there is strength in tech, but coming from some names that we haven't talked about in the past couple of weeks. Oracle downside, meanwhile. Google 0.3 only. Apple red on the day. Some of the chips are strong ahead of AMD tomorrow. AMD kind of flat overall, though, as we head into the final couple hours of the day. If you're with us in the pre-market this morning, we touched on a whole bunch of things to kick things off. Microsoft was top of the list. There was a number of analysts talking very positive on the AI side of things ahead of earnings coming up tomorrow after the close. A couple of price target increases this morning. It was all-time highs in the pre-market. We did get a bit of a dip, guys, but here we are right back to it for MSFT today.
I'm muted.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We've said this before. Like, if we don't have one muted mic, then it's not going to be a good day. Oh, Ram, I know he's aware of it. That's why we're making the jokes. You know what's here's the thing. Sometimes we'll leave our mic muted just to see if you guys are paying attention. Because I want to hear my ear, like, oh, are you guys going through and making sure that we're locked and loaded and ready to go? It's never just because I plumb forgot about it. But I actually didn't trade Softy today, so you traded Softy, right?
Yeah, I traded Microsoft. Okay. Yeah. I trade a lot of stuff here today. I'm just getting the chat set up there. Was not in the afternoon chat or the midday chat. Just realized that we got Boeing on our mind right now. But yeah, Microsoft. I'm in a lot of positions here again. We're still in that same Tesla trade. Not one, not two, not three, not four. $5. We'll watch out for that. Microsoft's the only name that we might have another red name here. Oh, we shorted a firm. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, so Microsoft, red name today, and look what it's doing. What a surprise ahead of earnings tomorrow. Probably does nothing the rest of the day. If we do break above this 408, great opportunity there. It's actually 407.50-ish. 407.80, whatever that is right there, gets going, and then you can use that as a bottom. But right now, not much happening for Softy. We tried the short early when we thought we heard something about Teams, which we did, but that didn't matter, ripped up to the upside. Then we went long ahead of VWAP until we lost VWAP. Then we tried the long back in there, and that didn't work out. We're still short Google. We've been shorting this one. This is going to be a good name for us. But everything else, par for the course here as we continue to trade away here and have a lot of fun. During while you guys were all gone. Lots of stuff moving around, but...
I have an issue with that saying, the whole par for the course.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it just means like, ho-hum, like nothing special. But to the overwhelming majority of people...
Yeah, they cannot even get...
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I go out to the golf, which I haven't because of my back in a while, but if I'm hitting a par, that is my day on the course. And for like 90-something% of regular non-great golfers, like that's a big deal. So
par for the course.
I'm just throwing it out there, like, par for the course is fantastic. If I get a birdie putt, like I would be happy. I don't care if I sink it because I missed them all. But if I had a birdie putt, I'm celebrating. Like that's just the way I look at it. So par for the course, to all of us that suck, can be good.
I'd take par. Brendan would take par.
You guys are golfers, though. I mean, like, how many pars?
No, we're not golf. We like to golf.
Okay, but just how many times are you going to make par if you play 18 a normal?
Maybe twice.
Yeah, I mean, a couple. I don't know. We played skins one time. You guys made a few.
Yeah, par. You can make some birdies.
I'm just saying. If
I don't know. I'm like
I'd
I'm like a bogey golfer.
Well, that means you're making par every now and then.
Yeah,
If I go, it's like I'm celebrating or dancing.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
You still celebrate pars. Sharif, you golf?
Absolutely not. I play tennis. That's my elitist sport.
Good distinction, though, Sean. I appreciate that. There's a very, very distinct difference between being, quote unquote, a golfer and just liking golf. And yes, I would definitely take par because it doesn't come around very often at all. Yeah. We can talk about Tesla here. There's a couple of different angles to take. We had that big move up in all of these EVs right out of the gate this morning. I mean, it was Fisker, it was Lucid, right across the board. They were all pretty positive. Here's 3% though for Tesla. Nice day back to 189, tapped out around 190 and change. Would you sign up for a Model 3 Performance edition?
I take the Model Y Performance. I like the Model Y a lot better than the Model 3, just my inclination for SUVs. But yeah, you saw, Sean, in this trade earlier, what a nice bounce it was off that key level, and it did popped aggressively, Brendo, into that 191 area. Guys, they're looking at spending about $10 billion in 2024 on CapEx. We know that they have a number of gigafactories under construction. There's one in Mexico, one to be said possibly in the south of Spain, as well as one in India. We'll see whether India's is going to be a gigafactory or a battery plant. By comparison, guys, they spent $8.9 billion last year, and the year prior to that, about $7 billion. So a marked increase here, Brendo.
Yeah, 55, or the equivalent, so the Model 3 Performance going into China potentially, the equivalent of $55,730 US gets you features like a dedicated front splitter, an aggressive rear spoiler, sport bucket seats, and the potential for ludicrous mode badge. I think that alone is worth
Beast mode almost, but for
worth the price tag. I mean, they have the Model S ludicrous mode, but I'll take it.
If you know what it needs, when you enter ludicrous mode, you need to have like a recording of Rick Moranis's voice as he's saying ludicrous speed. Because if you got to do it, you can't go halfway. You got to go all the way. Shout out to Spaceballs there. I traded Rivian, not Tesla, so I'll let you go on Tesla, and I'll come back with, because Tesla made a big move today, and all of the EVs basically decided to lose their minds. Like it was almost like Tesla almost initiated a squeeze at that bottom, for lack of a better term, and then that squeeze extended to Rivian and Lucid, and Nikola was up at one point. It was kind of crazy, Sean.
Yeah, look, again, not rocket science here. Tesla, we'll talk about it. It's on the sticky note as a long, just a matter of what price. It came in, it gave us the price twice down there at 184. This was a 50-cent worth risk or so. We talked about that. And now we're in the money $5. So it's just a monster. I'm not getting rid of it. I really like this trade. You know, I want to see if it can go the rest of the day here, and let's just see if that happens. Even if it pulls all the way back, would suck, obviously, to give the money back here, but hopefully it continues to go. We didn't even get out at 191. Like, we had an $8 winner and didn't do anything about it. So let's just see if it continues to go upside there. I still think there's higher. I don't, you know, we've already bounced off VWAP. I like that. We recently bought 180, you know, my best buy. We talked about this yesterday. I guess Friday, I guess is when we bought it, 186. And now we're finally in the money on that last little buy. So yeah, nice upside. We really liked it holding 180. It's now day 3 and Tesla's not falling anymore. So we'll wait for the other big tech names. But of course, Jim Cramer has booted this out of the Mag 7 and now it's the Super 6. So we'll see if Tesla can regain some love back, you know, with many of these analysts. I think we can get back upside here on Tesla. I'm not selling any of my position. I'm going to hold this for the rest, and Tesla's in my portfolio for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not sure the EVs are out of the water just yet, but the bounce is speaking for itself, at least after the Tesla earnings. Rivian, when Tesla reported, has held on to the 15 level, so that was the one for me this morning. Just, you did wick underneath and had that liquidity grab on Thursday, and then Friday there was a long off 15. Today was the same long. Last week, one of the things I talked about when I came on The Real Deal was if you get a chance to have history repeat itself, like why not go for it? That's what happened off 15. Like it went 15 to 15.50. The difference today was all the EVs went squeezing. And right after Rivian took that 15.15, I'll show you a Lucid chart or any of them, everything just accelerated to the upside. So I did not hold on to it, got back in, started buying off of the 15.50 level, first in the 60s for scalp trades, and then now we've got some in front of 15.50. So I'm sitting long in 59s. Right now on Rivian. It's a nice stair step to the upside, but this is what I was getting at. That's a big move in Rivian. You're up 3%, but it went a full dollar. Lucid, which, I mean, this stock has been in the penalty box forever. 22% Lucid is up. Like it was like a relief squeeze once Tesla held a bid. And this definitely was a squeeze on Lucid. Back above the $3 level, looking pretty good. The one I'd elected to short was Fisker, because Fisker was still underneath the buck. So Fisker broke these highs at about 92, couldn't get past 95, didn't come close to $1. And right when Lucid and Rivian and all those were making tops, I was like, okay, Fisker hasn't broken a buck yet. Let's just short that high. Still hanging on to it. Essentially, I got some 93 halves and I got some 92 twos. My average price was 92.8. So basically 93. It's sitting there with an 86 bottom. I fully expect this is probably not going to do much in the afternoon. But if I see, look, if the EV names start making highs again, more shorts are probably likely to cover. It felt like a lot of the like Lucid and Rivian, some of those shorts probably took the opportunity today on that Tesla bounce to take some profits. Because it's all well and good to be with the trend, but if you're sitting in a Lucid or Fisker short from, I mean, essentially anywhere, and then talking about any of these names, you got to get out. If you don't actually cover, you don't make anything. So, if you've been leaning on this, some hedge fund, I feel like some of them went to the exit today to ring the register. If it broke a buck, I think some more of that would start happening. At some point, stocks like this got to bounce. Whether or not this is a one-day thing or it can sustain the rally, that seriously remains to be seen.
All right, let's go to AMD, back downside here, 0.85 right now. We've bounced off 175.5 a few times today, or 175 down here. A few times we're holding, but still a bit of a pullback coming off an otherwise pretty impressive month. It was Susquehanna this morning with a positive note going into earnings for them tomorrow as well.
Yeah, Brendo, multiple analyst comments in anticipation of earnings tomorrow. We also had Cantor Fitzgerald chiming in, maintaining their price target of 190, which is about a $10 premium or $15 premium, pardon me, from where we're trading at. Like you mentioned, Susquehanna raising its price target, though, from 170 to 210. Make sure to catch the market recap show tomorrow at 4 o'clock. AMD will be reporting.
Yeah, a little bit of profit taking here ahead of that report tomorrow, guys, for AMD.
So we keep saying this. Everyone's like, oh man, wait till Tuesday, wait till Wednesday, wait till Thursday. SMCI reports tonight. It is literally like SMCI, and look, I'm not saying I traded SMCI, but it had a 39% move on earnings last time. 39%. Like, it's ridiculous. We've just said it's up 70%. Every day this week has monster earnings. So I'm not saying SMCI is going to have the biggest move when you're on tonight, Sean. I'm just saying that there's a good chance. There's a really, really good chance that it's the biggest percentage mover on earnings this week. It's a really good chance. It's the highest expected volatility. So, don't sleep on. I'm not throwing any shade at AMD. Almost everybody on the show probably has AMD in their long-term account, and I bet you none of us have ever owned SMCIs. That's probably true, but SMCI is going to be a mover. I traded Intel today because Intel's the one that got squashed on the earnings. And, when you talk about letting things settle down, well, Intel made a 43 bottom on earnings. It made a 43-ish bottom on Friday, the day after. And then today, it just retested that low. It tried to pop through 44. It was a pop and fade at the even dollar level at the open. Here, I can go to the 3-minute chart again. Pop and fade at $3. And then a over VWAP trade, which, if you're wondering why I traded over VWAP, this low on Friday was 43.40. So once it got up there, I'm like, okay, we're looking shorts there. First dip, took some. I'm like, that's way too early. Wait for it to get up, fail that 40 level, then short it. Some out in front of VWAP, most out underneath. And just holding on to this. If the market flushes, I want some in front of 43, and then I want to see if we can get the low of the day. If the market does not hold the highs, or fails the highs of the day, which will be Friday's highs as well, then I think Intel's a relatively weak name. Now, it just so happens AMD's also down 1% and Intel's down 1%. It's just AMD's been running so much, and these guys, we've seen the price action with Intel after earnings. I fully suspect after a couple of days, AMD is going to reveal a lot in terms of key levels. I have some concern it's going to pull back, just based on how far it's come. But until then, you know, there's plenty of other names out there. You don't have to wait for AMD to report aftermarket. We're going to get a big hint tonight with SMCI.
Yeah, no, agreed 100%. We only traded one name. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, man. I mean, this comes tomorrow aftermarket, right? So we're going to wait for AMD. We were long early, and we put it down here. It was on our sticky note, I believe. Yeah, 181. Obviously, you know, that didn't come in right there. We were going to play that break, but it just tanked. And then we started playing off of yesterday's bottoms, right, in the afternoon. That didn't work. And then all of a sudden, the tank just continued. This is in the first minute. We dropped $5 in the very first minute. And we were able to catch the bottom. Then we got out there. Then we caught it again to the upside. This is going to look sloppy, and it is. But AMD today, instead of being down a cup of coffee, we're up a cup of coffee. But we were down like half of a franchise early, but then made it back a little bit. So 177's our best out. And again, it started to break lower, so we got out of that one. Those are 175 bids, out 177. So again, lose $2 there, make $2 back. We're up on the name today, and we'll hopefully see if it can stay that way as we'll look to trade a little bit more of this. But right now, you're pretty much in the middle. So I still have to develop a strategy here for the afternoon. So that's the one thing that I have to try to do. What's up, Marshall? Laughing.
I hate the middle trades, but like the thing is, there's been the last couple of weeks, VWAP or trace, like VWAP style trades in the afternoon have been pretty good. Like with the trend, respecting VWAP, especially if it's another key level. But this has been, and anyone that watches this afternoon show, you've known, you don't want to be overtrading. You got to find those key prices or the stocks that have a catalyst or that are going, because there's so many things that are just going to sit there and not moving, and you can get yourself chopped up. I think the chips are going to do something this afternoon because there's too much riding on this week.
You know what's a real nice stock? SOFI. Nice.
It's so.
I feel like they're making fun of us.
A little bit.
Never happens. Let's talk about SOFI is nice. Nice earnings report anyways, back above $9, right across the board. Here is just one of many highlights from it. Going out to beyond 2024, they expect 20 to 25% compound revenue growth for all the way up to 2026. So as I said, one of many positive notes coming out of their earnings for SOFI.
Yeah, and the good news here, Brendo, is they're making record revenue in all three of their business segments. So everything's firing on all cylinders. Let's talk a little bit about it. So the revenue increased 35% year over year to about $650 million from $572. Profit increased as well, Brendo, $47.9 million. Last year, they reported a loss of around $40 million. And their subscribers continue to grow, about 695,000 subs. This time last year, we had about 585,000.
Yeah, a little bit tricky out of the gate this morning, back and forth. I mean, 50% at least of this move was pre-market this morning. So nice day, though, overall, almost 20% here.
I don't know if it was that tricky if you zoom out, because we always talk, when in doubt, zoom out. That's something you always say. So when I threw the morning mix down and we were talking this morning, it was as simple as this. SOFI had already gapped up double digits. Like, it was gone. It was a huge runner. You knew it was in play. They actually had reported their earnings at a prompt time, so you didn't have to worry about us, you know, half an hour before the market opens and they drop the earnings. Here's looking at UCCL for doing that all the time. But you had plenty of time to sort of digest it, and then you go into previous resistance, which is at 865. It's like, okay, I'm looking for dips into that price. And again, previous resistance turning into support. When it happens, take advantage. It ended up being the bottom wick. I like 950 as an out, so I got out when it failed at the 950 level and turned around. The only mistake, and this is hindsight is 2020, was maybe it was a short off the 950 level. That's the one thing that I think could have been different, is to have shorted the 950. But instead, like SOFI, we've seen it do the other thing before, where it goes into that dip and doesn't hold. if it doesn't hold that previous price, we could have easily been down in the low 8 range. I think this is a great start for them. Profitability, oh goodness, yeah, whatever. Missing some data on that daily chart. So I was going to show the weekly chart on SOFI. Let's just do it with Trade Ideas. It's a great start for them. And what I love about this is you were on the weekly chart, you were just straight up curling off this 50 period on the weekly. And now you have a chance to make a higher low. Like these are, on the weekly chart, this looks really good, right? The higher lows, the holding of the moving average. You break 10, and some really good things can start to happen to SOFI. So today definitely a good start for them because we've seen this thing go 10% up, gapping up on earnings before, give it all back by 10 o'clock. I love the fact that that's not happening here. I think it's sort of a good trend. And volume, doing a 250 million shares and most of it above VWAP is never a bad thing.
All right, so if you listened to the podcast, which many of you did, of course, you would know that I talked about SOFI on the podcast and that the fact that we really liked it. Brendan asked me a question about SOFI, and I actually targeted up here near that $10 mark. So there goes SOFI. It's a nice little move there, and you can go find it. Go make sure you do that right now, immediately, right here, episode 11. Go get it on Spotify, on YouTube, everywhere. Go find it. We discussed a lot of stuff, including SOFI. So there it is right there. Go have a quick look and go find that podcast. More importantly, podcast is nice. Obviously, probably everyone already watched it or listened to it. But right here, we already had SOFI written down here as the one of the best ideas for today. Long 9, use 850 as an out. All you had to do was buy it, so that's exactly what we did. SOFI, a top name here today. And there it was. Buy early, buy late, buy the 9 break, and then just do something like this. I mean, Travolta's just like, it's all right. So there it is. It's a nice move upside for SOFI. We've talked about this before, man. I don't know if this continues. This was their last earnings report. This is what happened after it. This is like more good news about SOFI. This is what happened after it. So I don't know, man. Just watch out. You can go back here to July 31st. Again, big breakout on that. You're still going to look out for 1050. I've recently bought this name down here at 6 and at 7, and honestly, debating just getting out if we can get back up to that level. So we'll wait for SOFI, but again, congratulations if anybody had that B2K. BTC, I was going to say at 43K right now, and still going higher. Let's go find out what's up with Bitcoin.
Yeah, never mind 42. How about 43 now and holding to the upside today to the tune of about 2.5%. I mean, we talked about 41.2, 42-ish going back to last week. Once we got above that and held, it was nothing but straight to the upside. So good look here still for Bitcoin. Yeah,
Brendo, it was a sell the news event after the spot ETF came into effect. But over the last 5 days, Bitcoin's gained about 9% so far. So that sell the news event is starting to end here. With respect to Coinbase itself, there was an interesting upgrade from Oppenheimer last week. Analyst Owen Liu upgrading from perform to outperform and maintaining the price target of 160, basically saying that Coinbase is likely to win their litigation against the SEC and looking for more upside.
Yeah, it's funny. The more we talk about it, the more focus continues to be on these types of stocks, the Maras and the Coinbases of the world, and not the ETFs at the end of the day. So interesting.
It is true. Well, some of it has to do with, I don't know if you've got options on a lot of these yet, and you saw the big short float on things like Mara. So let's be real. Like a lot of the move up and the strength is you're stair-stepping back up. After the sell the news event on the ETFs, this is a 1-hour chart of Bitcoin here. Like you've been stair-stepping into the upside, now zoom back in. So all you did is break out last week's top and then consolidate higher. So as you could probably imagine, Mara did that thing where it dipped and ripped. All that said, it didn't really sustain the move very well today on Mara. So this is one of those, it's a great dip and then rip to the upside, but yuck on the back end of this. Because you saw that Bitcoin chart, and this is the problem with Mara and sometimes Coinbase, and oftentimes Coinbase, is like you'll see like okay, fine, we'll participate in the move when Bitcoin and crypto is strong, but you make a top and they hold the highs everywhere else, and then suddenly Mara just drips all the way back in. You got to take profit. Like once this failed VWAP, this probably became an easy short. I wish I'd been thinking shorts on Mara. But at this point, I'm not going to touch it. If you get down to the absolute bottom, I suppose that's not impossible. You look at like a 17.5. But we're focused on SOFI at the morning. If there had not been SOFI, I probably would have tried this to the long, but didn't make that trade. Great move for Bitcoin. This is still up 2%, but I feel like that doesn't tell the story. What really happened here for the back half of the day is everybody just taking profit, it looks like, on Mara and getting the you-know-what out of Dodge.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the Bitcoin move today, and then, that Coinbase, we left it alone, but that Coinbase 130 level, that broke right there. I think that was a level that we were looking at earlier. Yeah, right into there. Yeah, that 130 bottom. I think that would have been a short. We could check out the first time that actually hit. We didn't short it, but okay, so it actually was a great short the very first time. It went down about $3, $4. But you'd have had to get that top wick. Then we broke it, danced around, and really haven't come back in. So the fact that Bitcoin's holding higher is fantastic news. I was actually thinking to myself, like if you're in a tax-free savings account or anything like that with Bitcoin, it's better to switch, out of your Coinbase where you're holding coins on exchange, and then just go into, like we talked about this, an IBIT here or an ARKB, which is ARK Bitcoin. I just feel like there's going to be more opportunities, especially for people in Canada, that if you can get some tax savings somehow by switching into the appropriate account, you can now forget about Coinbase or holding things on exchange and go into a registered. But then again, you can't trade like Cardano or Solana or anything like that. But
that's the only downside.
You can go into something like this. I wouldn't go into a HUD 8 or anything, but this is another name that just continues to be like back and forth with more. I guess there's some negative hit pieces on them. There's some defense back and forth, but it's like, why bother when you could just hold coins somewhere else? So I wait for the ETHE, the Ethereum Grayscale product, to go ETF, which if that happens, I think that's another big sort of push that could get this price back going. You saw a big dip into $18 over the last couple of days. Now you're going to wait to see where Ethereum goes from here. But I think this is the next one. I wouldn't sell Bitcoin per se, but again, I would do most of the trading in this into some of these ETFs where, the only downfall would be unable to trade on the weekend and then unable to trade off market hours as well with a little bit of a lack of liquidity. So again, hold some of your coins on exchange to trade and then maybe convert them over if you have any taxable benefits, and maybe in the United States you don't, but if you do, you can get into some of these ETFs as well. But just for everybody, what's up, Frank Jones and everybody talking? A couple weeks ago, we gave Nike as a buy down there at 100. That's 103 up. This is another thing from the podcast, and I want to thank Adara. Said this week's podcast was fantastic, so thanks for the feedback on that one. We liked Nike. I've also liked Adobe on the podcast as well. And then we mentioned SOFI last week. So what is Adobe doing here on a weekly chart? I'm already in this name, and I just liked buying it off that dip. So there it is again, 580. Adobe right back to highs. So hopefully, again, that was advice that was taken. Up 3% for Adobe. Just keeps on going higher.
Strong name for sure, Adobe. I mean, they had that little, it wasn't really a dump. It was that like aggressive pullback, let's call it, potentially. I'm just looking up this CLH that a couple people were talking about. Didn't really see what's moving it. There was, like, I basically, it looks like there was a Webbush target, price target, and then some, I guess, a little more option volume than normal that could be causing this move. It dumped at the open. There you go. It just basically dumped at the open, but it's been steadily retracing that move into the afternoon. Volume's not all that great, so it's worth keeping an eye on. Not really seeing anything I terribly love about it there when it comes to CELH. I think there's going to be other trades out there for us. Speaking of other trades, just going to point out this silly thing. Affirm is up 5% today, much to my chagrin because I shorted it twice and lost twice. But the top ended up being 44.44. So if you just hit 4 a bunch of times and then enter and then sell, like you actually made money today on Affirm, but it's holding nicely above VWAP. There is a chance that you could see with a push up, this could retest that high. Now, yes, it is squeezing, all that good stuff, but 5%, there was no catalyst that I could see for Affirm today. unless you somehow just randomly tie it into exuberance over SOFI. I suppose you could work some kind of a weird angle that makes logical sense, but there were a lot of things squeezing. It's still got a decent short flow. So I don't see any catalyst for it. If it gets back up to that high, I'd be looking to try to fade that off the top, just in case we get a bit of an inside day. So that's the plan there. I would like to add back into Rivian. I'm trying to get the dip. I don't think we're going to get 15.6s again, so I'm just going to cancel that. Going to be looking at VWAP here on Rivian for the higher low as it kind of grinds higher. Don't want to rush into, oh, let's just buy it here because it's trending up. No, that's just random pricing. It had support at the 60 level. We'll look for that VWAP retracement trade here on our IVN. And as far as Intel goes, I don't necessarily think, this is getting back into VWAP. I don't want to jump into the VWAP trade this early. If it breaks, wait for that high. It was at 43.40. That's the real resistance on Intel. So unless it shows me one more time that the short is going to be good at that VWAP, I think I want to just wait it out a bit. The futures are pressing right here into that Friday high on the NASDAQ I'm talking about. That Friday high. So if we start punching through that, getting in any shorts early is not going to make a heck of a lot of sense.
All right. People talking a little bit about AMD. AMD is another moneymaker today, but now we probably, we probably should have bought that. Again, if you guys are looking for like one or two trades, like just easy, simple trades that are very, very simple to follow, we're still in Apple long, which is not $1, but it's approaching the $2 club there for Apple. So again, we just bought that dip early. Got it out basically right here. Our best fill is 191.25. You can see now with the position board, this is what we were talking about earlier, as that keeps going. And then the other trade that is pretty simple to have would be this Tesla trade long at 184. Down there we have that one. And then the other trade that we've had all morning as well as SOFI. So all of these trades continue to work for us. We have a new trade that came in, and unfortunately, we did get stopped out of Boeing first time around, right there breaking 30s. It went up, VWAP, everything's changed since we took this trade. But short, then we broke back down below. We let it settle down. We got this garbage out of here. Then it's a nice downside push for Boeing. So as you can see, a little bit of a quick hit there, but then much better coming back now for BA. We'll short it again. We're only short Boeing now. Market is up. You can see here the ES up 0.26. Right now, let me see if I zoom that back down. And then the NASDAQ is up 0.51. So, the only name that we're probably going to be short are names that are against the market. Because if the market does fall from here, Boeing should continue to collapse down because people will look for weaker names to sell. Other than that, man, SOFI, Apple, Boeing, Tesla is what we're in. And you guys, so I feel like we've done better. Normally, we would have got out of Tesla when we broke the 50 period, which is right here, we came right back to it. So while this was happening, I was like, oh man, we kind of broke our rules there. We didn't get out, then, it touched VWAP. The only thing that I'm mad about is we didn't get more shares right here because Tesla's up that 3.25. So playing relative strength versus relative weakness would make sense to go back into the long if Tesla does dip down as well. Brendan brought up Oracle. So earlier, this was one that was down again. So we can find out here with Oracle.
Was there news on Oracle today?
No, it's not. It's only down 1%. When do they report? So this is one of the last names that I bought as well. Yeah, I'm long at this name 07s, not till March. Okay, you already looked it up. Yeah, so March 7th right there. So, all right, relatively weak, but just to put you guys in my head, which you don't want to be in for too long, it's like unless we get up to VWAP again, probably not a trade looking at 113.75, maybe as you're out if you do short somewhere around 50s or 60s. So again, needs a little bit of work to go back in on that name, but that's Oracle. And Google was a name that we kept on shorting until we finally got stopped out. I was going to say maybe Google was weak if we're looking at network and stuff like that, but Oracle wouldn't, and Google don't really. More of a cloud play there. Microsoft was the one name, again, heading into earnings. And the truth is going to remain the same. Oh, damn it. Again, Microsoft, I find it's really tough. Now, we still have tomorrow. It's coming tomorrow night. So, the day before should have been okay. We just should have kept on buying this 405, 406 area. Believe in the strength, believe in the name. Microsoft kind of barcoding now, but look at that break. 407.50 was a good one. So, yeah, probably could have done better on that one. Now, honestly, what about a 408.20 break using 407.80? Do we have 40 cents worth of a move back to the upside for Softy? That would basically get us today's high. Maybe we do have that in it. So let's just have a quick look here. I think we'll take maybe a couple hundred shares. Okay, so now we're starting to break higher. Let's go look at Microsoft.
Microsoft making the move to the upside there. I was going to talk about, oh, whoops, shoot. I was going to mention Palantir in 17. Palantir up 3%. No particular catalyst, but it is right back retesting these highs. Okay, it's not at 17 yet. 1691 is the current high of the day. The last time it was at 17, it kind of rejected it. This is the stock. Like if it breaks out at 17, like the even dollar looks pretty solid. I like the hold at 1630-ish here. I like the 17 potential break. You're just setting up what's strong, what could get to a big level, what's trending. So if it breaks 17, great. If it goes into VWAP, then VWAP dip buy. So Palantir, I like it when it's linear on Palantir. Like it'll do that where it's just, I mean, like where are the sellers when this thing just kind of glides to the upside? So when it's having one of those types of days, I do like it. There was a question in the chat that I wanted to answer from Monty Engelhart. What's the formula to know how many shares to buy to average down to a particular exit price? The way you should, if your plan is, I don't know the perfect price to get in, but I know where I want to get out. Like, which is that's perfectly reasonable. Like that actually can happen to you where you just don't know. Let's say, I'm just going to use the example of a stock that I happen to be in and took 2 entry points because it's the simplest thing I can do. So let's say I knew I wanted to get out, like I knew I wanted to get out at 95 on Fisker, but I don't know exactly what price this is going to turn. So first you have to tell yourself, what's my out? 95. Okay, well, where do I expect to get filled on the way out? Let's just say 95 even is going to be okay for a fill, just to make the math a lot more simple. And say you want to risk, you got to pick an amount. Let's say you got 1,000 shut down, you want to risk 20% of it, which sometimes what traders will do. So you say you want to risk $200 if your out is 95 on Fisker. And it's turning somewhere around 93. So the way I would look at it is if you have an average price of 93, then you can risk 1,000 shares. Well, okay, sorry, because it's going to be 2 cents there. So you're going to be able to risk, if you go 200, you got to be able to risk like 10,000 shares there. So if you know that an average of 93, you're going to be able to have 10,000 shares, that should inform you of the types of fills that you can take at each price. So if I'm better than 93, then I can get up to 10,000 shares, maybe a little bit more. But if you take a fill under 93, say at 92, you've got a limit. If you take 2,000 there, then that adjusts the math. You can put a calculator up so that you know my average price, if it gets to 95 and stops me out, I want my average price at 93 for no more than 10,000 shares. So you can start with that as your base, and then from there, as you take fills, you have to adjust the math. That's the issue with it. Like you are looking at that on the fly. What you can't do is get all 10,000 shares at 92 unless you end up risking more than you want to. So in that particular situation, like you have a price in mind where you're going to be out. You have an amount that you're willing to lose, and then you work backwards from there. There's no other way to do it unless you're willing to risk more than you want to. Like you just have to do it that way. It's not simple. I want to get to Meta. Meta was the other thing. Meta was frustrating for me. It had the 400 break this morning. It didn't work. Had the dip off VWAP. It started working, then didn't. Did not get back into it when I got up. Frustrating because I got out, take a little bit of a break. We finish at 11 o'clock, right? So I got out of the trade. I'm like, I'll just get up, go to the bathroom, grab a snack, all that good stuff. And then it bounces right off VWAP again and clean off the 398 level. Now you're tracking higher. I think you use the 400 level here because that's what it's telling. The stock is telling you to use the 400 level. Look at the long consolidation off 400, this little dip into 400, that little dip into 400. So there's some buyers there in Meta at 400 that I think you can take advantage of. No need. I don't think there's a need to buy it at the 50s. It seems to me like even the smallest move down, you're going to be able to get the 400 again. It's only 50 cents away on a $400 stock. So if there's buyers here, you might as well wait for 400 to try and grab that long.
All right, yes. All right, I mean, we're still sitting in Microsoft. We took a 20 fill just to see what was going to happen. I don't have I have an offer near 50 to see because we just went to, actually, where's my offer? 39, that's not enough. We need to get a little bit higher. Let's just offer 50 exactly or somewhere. Maybe not exactly. Somewhere there for Microsoft. I just want to break this trade down for everybody. My next buy is down here, 407.50. I want to hold it until we break here, 407, basically 406.80, 406.50. Like, now again, I don't think that this is something that we average into all the way in. Let's just take another fill here, and then we'll see if we can get a bump up into the end of the day. Because right now, sure, we're 10 cents in the money, but you know, it's a $400 stock, so we need it to go a little more than that if we're going to make any real money on this. Boeing seems to be doing not much. We can go look at something else. I mean, so first of all, that Palantir obviously was all over the sticky note, but we were waiting for 16. That didn't come in, right? And so when that didn't come in, we don't need to wait for all the right prices. It's just this one is my fault because I had it on the sticky note and it was definitely on my radar. It's just I left it alone and we should have bought this. So if there's ever anything that's on my radar and it actually comes into a level, should have bought it. So right there, we'll see if it could do that again. Also maybe fading 17, but I prefer the long. In this name, obviously, as we can sit here and all look at what's happening.
Yeah, it's too strong.
With Palantir. So yeah, despite missing it, I'm just going to hold off and see if we can do a little bit better on that trade.
Well, Upstart's, I see.
Is Upstart starting to go?
YZ here. What up, YZ?
What's up, YZ?
Yeah, Upstart, we talked about a firm. This is actually breaking highs on Upstart. Oh yeah, I was just looking at Nat Gas, but it's the wrong contract. Let me just fix that in case I need to look at that level or show you guys that level too. So Upstart is basically at the 50 period on the daily, right here. And there's, like, it's set up for a break at 35. The crazy thing about it is you see how the market is like slowly grinding higher. It's not necessarily the type of market that's conducive to taking an afternoon breakout here at the 35 level. So I'd rather look for something like this. Like we were talking about Palantir, like if Palantir gives you a dip to buy into, I think you join the trend that way. But Upstart, like it's setting up like a 35 break. That looks great on the 15-minute, but I'd rather look for dip buys in stocks like this. So like it looks great. That same trade at like 9:30 in the morning or 9:40 in the morning or 10 o'clock, probably be taking that breakout on Upstart. But at this time of day, I'd rather look for the dip buy. And I know I said I'd short a firm if it got up to those highs. I like the resistance that's there at the 45 level. It's got a 44.5 today, so I'll probably take one shot at it. But Upstart, actually the strongest of, well, I shouldn't, whatever. It's lending adjacent space. So they're not the same company. It's just they're like lending companies. And it's a squeezable name. The other thing about Upstart to keep in mind is it's got 41% short float. Right? That's a little bit of the reason why I think when these go up, I'd rather look for shorts in a firm than Upstart, because even though a firm is, similarly like a questionably profitable company, that's a very nice way to put it, it's only 17% short float. Where I can't remember the last time Upstart was up and I'm like, ooh, let's fade this stock. Generally not the case. I think you're looking for breakouts here, but I'd rather go dip buy hunting. When you see this kind of a stair step up, just look for the next step, like a pullback like that. Try to grab a long, maybe it pulls back into 34.50, grab a long, give it to 30, and then if it gets to 35, you're already in it. You get it at 50 here, and you give it 25 cents. By the time it gets to 35, you don't have to worry about the breakout trade. I'd rather do that.
All right, so people talking about, yeah, I mean, we got to find stocks that are moving around. So we said NVIDIA probably needs to be bought back because it's not weak at all. Can you believe NVIDIA had a 609 bottom today? Now you're up $10 from there. I shouldn't say, can you believe it? I mean, I believe it. All right, the high for NVIDIA here, well, okay, we still have a little ways to go, 630, but you're into 620 right now. Is there any size here? Oh, man, yeah, a little bit, 50,000. Add that NASDAQ 20,000, 70, 80,000 plus dark pools, probably a couple 100,000 shares up here. But look at the spread. So the spread right now is 30 cents before you deal with any real shares. So a little bit difficult to short this without an expectation of getting punched out for probably a little bit of a hit. I don't think we should short a name that looks like this. If anything, you want to play dips. Let's just go over to AMD to see what's going on there. This is also starting to break higher. I'm trying to find some shorts. So Intel down 1% and at VWAP. This could be the one as well. How much was AMD down?
They're both the same.
Down point, yeah.
Oh no, AMD's bouncing. Sorry,
yeah, Intel's double right now, but doesn't mean that it's a good trade short. So Intel and AMD, two completely different beasts. So I would probably rather short Intel, but again, Intel's not moving. SMCI, again, 489, 49, 50, some decent size there at 489. So this day, barcoding, heading into earnings, this one's going to be
spoofing that.
a for sure no. Yeah, I just saw that at 488 there, yeah. Again, I don't know if it was a real quote or not. All right, so here's Micron, 8875. All right, this could be a nice short. Yeah, still. Everything's just right here. All right, we're $5 still in the money, obviously, on Tesla. Are we being real silly by not getting out of this 188.50? All right, I mean, to take 450 on this trade is probably good enough. I mean, it did go all the way down to 187. I'd hate for this market to bleed the rest of the day. I don't think it's going to. But, you know, a takedown of 188.55, we should probably get out of this. So let's do that. All right, my stop is a lot lower. We'll just do this right now, 188.39. We'll get out of Tesla, is what it is. And then this Apple trade as well. I feel more comfortable holding this one again for Apple. So we'll hold on to a little bit of that. We are a little ways away from this, 191 and change. So we'll wait for that. But it looks like Tesla, again, a little slippery slope. That's probably the one that eventually comes out first. Tesla. Market trying to drip. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if we got back to 17.6. So let's get out of a little bit here and see what we can do.
Yeah, I got to take profit. It's almost 3 o'clock. I mean, taking profit's going to make sense. You're going to like this one, actually. Well, spoiler, I have Disney up already, so you know I'm going to say Disney. Disney here, double top on the daily, cracking 97s. Okay, fine, close to 97s. I shouldn't say cracking 97s because it hasn't actually broke the level yet. It's not a guarantee that it will. But a double top on the daily chart, double top here as well on the day, 96.8. So this looks like it could be, I like scalp trades where you can look for a fade trade at a key price level, but I'd rather it break this and get to 97 before fading it. We talked about Upstart and Affirm and all that good stuff. So Upstart just did a dip into 34.50. So I just grabbed it here, give it to this 30, it's like 34.30 right in here, that lower high, and see if it can get to 35. It's just rather risk the 25 cents that way. That way, if it gets to 35 even, you've actually made the move, and you've got almost 2 to 1 there, and you can hold some through that high. So that's going to be the plan on Upstart. As I said, Disney, on the daily, a level like that, I generally want to try to short it off a big level late in the day. Is it really going to punch through and give you enough carry through a key price like that on a daily chart? I usually think first chance, it's probably going to resist it. You know, a lot of people aren't necessarily zooming out. It's been strong up 1.5%, but if you get an inside kind of day, just one little press, break this high, fail this high, and then I'd short it in front of the 97 level. So Disney is definitely on my radar. Strong market, strong stock, but at a big key resistance level.
All right, we're going to, how many shares do we have? Okay, we can still get a 248. Okay, there it is. Let's go. We'll go page 1. We'll spin the money right here to the downside. So we'll see what's going on right here. I want, the Piper made a comment there. I just want to know what that was about, something about profits. If you want to talk about that, we can. We just got out of some SOFI, so this is going to be a very profitable stock. It just broke below 9. So I was just like, I just had a small piece left. I'm a little bit more concerned about this Microsoft trade. So we'll get out of SOFI. We just got some more softy now. We didn't realize, well, we did realize it, but the 50 period, I said we would wait for down here. We're still going to, but I want to average in a little bit there. We had dropped back into 80s, and we just did that twice and then went right back. It's not a big move. The stock is not doing anything right now. This is 17 cents against me now. We're going to have to wait for softy. I like this trade. I like it much better down here. So we got a little excited, took a little bit early there. We'll see if that can hold out. That's Microsoft. It's the only name that's going right now against us. 85 cents now in the money as we look to get to the low of the day here into 204. So again, we're short 205.06. So this stock is right now getting into the Dollar Club. It's 90-cent winner right now for this. $4.50 for Tesla, $1.50 for Apple. You know, that basically kind of sums it up for what we're doing here. I mean, I'm trying to find some other ideas, like JP Morgan. I always, again, you know, I hold this stock. It's one of the only bank stocks that I hold. So I'm a little biased to the long here, but I'm also saying the bank's probably topping out a little bit. I wouldn't mind shorting this, but again, it's not really there. It's at 171 now. What is it doing on the day? Down 0.3 against VWAP. Okay, so, you know, this could be something back into the 90s, but this is what I mean about like trying to find things here in the afternoon.
Because you'll find something if you
Right,
look hard
it's like I need to stick with, that's why I went over, I immediately just went to the sticky note. And I was like Palantir long, Tesla long, Microsoft long, AMD long, SOFI long. I don't actually have any shorts listed on here. So I was thinking about Alibaba because some of these Chinese names today are going to the downside. We have the FXI, and then I remembered that Alibaba doesn't move too much, but we should have still shorted that against 73.30. So now it's starting to move around a little bit. We will give this another shot if it does come back up to the upside. But is there anything else, you know, that's pretty weak that we could short? I'm going to have to look. I mean, here's my watch list right now that I have up. We could sort it by percentage here. Okay, so forget about all the Chinese names. BYD, XPeng is there. I mean, we could look at Qualcomm. There's Alibaba. Oh, yeah, that's why we looked at Oracle. And then the other chip names, Oxy down 1%. That's probably pretty spicy. Apple, okay, well, we're long Apple, so maybe we should think about it. And then there's some of the banks. So out of all the stocks that I sort of screened for, these are all the big ones: Lucid, SoFi, Coinbase, Affirm, Square, Ethereum. You know, they're all nicely done to the upside. The short ones are all the Chinese names, which we could look at. I'm just, in the afternoon, I'm not super excited about those, and then maybe Oracle as one to look at. So we'll continue to flow through here. Okay, Tesla, let's just face slap it out. We're out of that stock. It broke there. That's it. End of the trade, Tesla. Like I said, it's going to be my #1 stock there. And by the way, we teased it, but there it is right there. We've had $1 on Apple today. We have it. We've had $3 or $4 on AMD. There's $1 on Boeing. Monster move, hopefully, for Microsoft. I don't know if that's going to come or not. Tesla, we just took $5 on that. So it's been a good day for the Dollar Club, and it's a pretty profitable day overall. You just need to watch your P's and Q's and don't get too carried away. The only red name here, we've got Microsoft, and we might just be adding to that right now. We are not revenge trading. We like Microsoft. It's up 1%. It's better than the market. Just waiting for more dip buys in and around this 407.50 area for Softy.
Yeah, I just got into Disney. You guys will probably see the position board there, which is working. Shout out to the crew for getting that fixed. But Disney, the double top on the daily, the double top today, it just made a run breaking that high, and immediately, it didn't really slam back underneath. But like that, this is the move. Like it broke the high, and then immediately found there was a seller that came in, took it back down to 75. So I just joined at 76 here, give it to the local top. I don't think this is maybe not a VWAP retracement. It could be too strong for that, but at least into the 96.5, 96.4 zone would look pretty good. So if we can get down into the 60s, take some out, just looking for a retracement trade. If we're not going to be breaking out into new ranges, then when something reaches a big level, not just on the day, but I like the fact that 97 is resistance on the daily chart as well for Disney. So that's the new position. So being patient with Intel was probably the right decision. Don't want to reload it at VWAP, kind of talk myself out of it. Looking for back in those high 30s for Intel. It's starting to break higher, and it might give us that chance. So this gets back up to that 43.40. Looking for the short there. The Viking Nomad in the chat, great name, saying Lucid could be a pull sell-off into the close. Well, I'm in Rivian. Lucid double topped that 335. You could be onto something. I mean, it was a squeeze today on these names. And Rivian's not really doing much. I actually just threw an offer in here if this gets back into the high 80s. Just look what's been happening since it's bounced off VWAP and then off 15.5. You've got 1590, which is the lower high, and it can't seem to break it. So if we get back there, I'm just going to take that and go. I don't mind looking for an EV name short. I don't think Fisker is going to give me much of an entry. Lucid, that's an easy one to pick on. Pretty sure I already paid for locates this morning when I started to see it go. I didn't use them. But the nice double top there at 335. If it makes a run at that and fails that high one more time, I think I'd take a shot at a VWAP retrace. I don't know if I like it right here, but I could see the EVs giving something back, or at least these EVs giving something back. And by these, I mean the ones that don't make any money when they sell vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's an easy bucket to put them into. It kind of settles
Not
things.
profitable, yeah.
Yeah, not like zero, you know, like negative
Zero
margin EV names. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's only one BYD and even BYD.
I thought Sharif said, and I don't know this for sure. I thought Sharif said that Li Auto was making money on the vehicles.
Maybe they.
Again, I don't know that as a fact. I just remember him saying something
Here
like that.
tonight, SMCI, last move on earnings, 35%. Expected earnings right now, 11%. So we'll see for that. And then we have another one here, SOFI. We saw it, doesn't matter. Expected move, 18%, 19% right there. So we'll see tonight. We're going to stay late. And Nucor as well, that's tonight. So that's 2.5%. But again, big steel company. It's the one that I own. I'm not selling any of those. And then after that, man, not much else. Cleveland Cliffs will be tonight as well. Past move was 9%. We'll see if CLF can get going tonight. Yeah, I don't know, Ryanair. Like, I can't believe that's 30 billion. We don't have very many, as far as market caps today, it's not, you know,
Yeah, they're not
kind of just mini companies coming through there. So, you know, join me tonight. We're going to have Miss Danielle Shea coming through soon, in and around 3 o'clock. She'll talk all about whatever. She's going to talk about options and things like that and how to pick up some opportunities with that. And then she has a course that she's selling that you can go find out how to play near and in around earnings. All right, I did want to check in on AMD. There it is, see, right up to VWAP again. So this could be a short for sure. I'm already long Microsoft, so I'm kind of hoping that this market does pop a little bit here. So we can wait on that. It's too bad because our Microsoft, we were just bidding 63s. It went as low as 73 there, which is that exact bottom, pretty much to the penny. So we've done well holding on to this. Doesn't mean that it's going to actually work out here. But again, we're long at 408.10 now. So we're out of this 20 cents and not, yeah. Only the brave could do SMCI options earnings. Yeah, well, or the brave or the smart. So you'll be able to figure that out. And I love how Adara always uses sort of that sentence that I had there. You got to be confident with your trades, right? And that's, you'll hear me tell you guys all the time, I'm putting on a bigger position for this trade, or I'm waiting for this to happen where I'm going to get, you know, a real position on and bigger shares. So, you know, so for right now, we're not doing too much. I am waiting for Microsoft to come in into this area. We know that. Hopefully that will come through. And then if we can get something down to 4, I'm willing to lose, obviously, on this one, you know. But 406, 407, the only thing that's giving me a little bit of a pause for concern, first of all, Boeing's $1, Apple's almost $2, is the fact that Microsoft comes with their report, and there could be some sellers heading into that. Not that it's tomorrow night, but we'll have to watch out for Softy here. As the market's going to the upside and it's kind of just chilling, remember, we are at day's high for the market and still climbing. So it is a little disappointing that Microsoft isn't following perfectly back up to the upside, so something to pay attention to there.
Yeah, it's not all, like this rising tide hasn't lifted all ships. Just one quick note. Upstart is holding a higher low. Probably could have waited for the 40s, jumped in at that 50 level instead. Going to take some out if it gets to the local high, which is about, it's actually 75, so I'm going to get out some in front of the 70 level. Disney retook that top. Tight stop there for me. Wasn't going to hold it and float it to 97. Was looking for that wick top, get in, get out if it breaks a fresh high. Just looking for a quick VWAP retrace. Sorry, not a quick retrace. Didn't think it would get to VWAP. Was looking for 96.5 there, but just trying to keep it in the pocket. Find something at a key level, try to execute off it, or find something trending and go dip buy hunting out there. There was a question in the chat, like, why are options expensive on SMCI? I'm not looking at the chain. I don't know how expensive they are, but it moved 39% on its last earnings. So there isn't, I mean, the list of names that probably, that are, what is this, $30 billion company? When you had it up there, nothing was over 40, so it's less than 40 billion. Yeah. So let's call it $30 billion company. It's got a 9% short float. It already has a day. It has, like, when they all they did is revise their guidance, and the stock did $100, well, like $90 move or something like that. It was insane. So it's very realistic that it could put that kind of a move in. Now, this time it's not expected that big, but that's the reason. The volatility on this is wild. Like, it moving 20, 30% is not abnormal for SMCI. And like when you have something like earnings for these guys, it's going to be through the roof. So I know a lot of people are excited and want to talk about AMD and all that stuff, but SMCI probably, if people talk about YOLO trades, I'm not YOLOing anything. I don't really know enough about the company to wax poetic about their prospects. Like I don't own it like I own Intel, but if this thing breaks $500, my guess is you're not actually, if you're like us, you're not going to get a chance to trade it. Because like if it breaks tonight to the upside, like we'll just be sitting looking at $550 or $600 or something ridiculous.
Oh shit!
And if it breaks down, we'll be sitting and looking at like $375 or some other nonsense. Market heading back up to these tops. Looks like Upstart wants to go back. To go back up. There was a pun in there somewhere.
Oh man, there it is. Let's go. Let's just do this. See what I'm saying? Like, we could still be him and hold something against us. New high on S&P 500. Boom goes a dynamite. There goes Microsoft. I'm not, it came right into our price. We talked about buying more, guys. Okay. This is our first buy. Jeez. Money, 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 money. Man, we're here. We are here, ladies and gentlemen. Who's here? We're here. It's a good one, and it's a chicken dinner winner. No matter what you had for dinner, hopefully you had some Microsoft in your portfolio right there. Boom, nice one move to the upside. There's $1. Oh yeah, we have a button for that. Wake up, America. Look at that move, man. Huge move there. Microsoft, boom. This is what we're talking about. We're trying to... Bye-bye. So that's what we're doing. See you later. Apple now $2 in the money. Microsoft starting to go. This is all good. We honestly can't do anything there. S&P futures now all-time highs. We're on Microsoft. We're got it. Nice move back up to the upside. Starting to blow up.
U.S. Treasury news is what caused this move.
Yeah, monster move. Huge move to the upside. And there it goes, man. Microsoft. See you later. It's $1 in the money. Apple's $2 in the money. Hopefully you guys are here watching all of this because this is what trading's all about. We talked about trying to buy some Microsoft at key levels. Too bad it didn't come in a little bit more. This would have been epic. But there it is, man. Meta's going upside there as well.
Well, if you held along that's following the NASDAQ, it was basically
the trend is your friend today.
U.S. Treasury January to March borrowing estimate assumes yada 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 whatever. It was like less boring than expected. They cut their boring estimate, the U.S. Treasury. Right, so then the market just took out the highs. Like I'm sitting there watching Upstart bounce off levels, and essentially the stock went 50 pennies. Like it went 1.5% in essentially like 3-4 minutes in a single candle. So that just headed up. The only other thing that I had to be concerned about was on that move. I was already on the offer of Intel, so thankfully it didn't break resistance. I was sitting there in front of the 4340 level. When that spike happened, I was just filled. So it goes up there. Fills me at 39 in front of the 40. It has not broken that top, but if we break this, like I think my stop's at 44 or 45, I'm just going to be out of Intel. That was a strong move to the upside, and I was already offering this will happen. I don't know that news is going to hit. The second the news hit, I was filled and it was through me on Rivian. I couldn't, you're not canceling that order in time because it was a spike and you're just out. Rivian now up to $16. So big move in the market on volume. You're going to see everything have gone. Just now. We might get this upstart break at 35. Still would rather be buying dips. I'm just going to jump right back in at the 34.50 level and try and rinse and repeat this bad boy. But yeah, the trend has been to the upside. It's just more of the same this afternoon. I don't know what to tell you. It is. I think we are getting close to having Daniel Shea come on. It'll be interesting to hear what she's looking for this week. This being the biggest earnings week. I don't want to say of the year, but of the quarter. This is always that week where everyone gets excited, and it starts tonight with SMCI, where the volatility is going to be through the absolute roof.
Guys, watch the podcast. We talked all about this week, what the best days were to look forward to. There's some shorts out there. There's some nice clips out there. Go make sure that you watch it, and you'll get some good results. Yeah, this is, I kind of, because, me and Danielle Shea, we've got a connection here. I feel like she's going to talk about, if you're not already in some of these options for some of these plays this week, you might have missed the boat. We never really want to get into too many options heading into earnings because of the implied volatility. We talked a little bit about that. And if you are looking for implied volatility, Ms. Shea, of course, has it right on her charts because she's a professional. But for us, we go to here and go to Market Chameleon, and then you can sort of see, and again, we've talked about this, implied volatility is derived from the front month option expiration, right? So that's, you're gonna look at that, you're gonna figure out the supply and the demand on that, get this implied volatility, and move forward with all of that. So like even as you go, we can go on to the next day, January 30th, and they're all gonna be here as well. I think it takes a day or so. Oh no, they still have it on here. So again, expected. Look at AMD, 10% tomorrow. Okay. You know, Alphabet 5. You know, so as it comes through, man, Pfizer 4, Danaher 4, Starbucks a 6-pack right there. So yeah, lots of things happening. You can go find that. It's going to be real cool because Danielle will break it all down to you option style in just a couple minutes as we get ready for her. But I'll break it down to you equity style, man. We're still here. Props to everybody that was rocking with us on that softie. We only have less than 20% left on this trade. So I'm hoping, of course, that we can get some upside here, more, but we already cashed out. Like we were waiting at 409. You know, like right into there, as if we're not going to take the high of the day. Average in, boom goes the dynamite on that treasury note. So, hey, man, it's a good day over here. I hope it's a good day where you are. And no matter, yeah, go ahead. No
Quickly, before we go to Danielle,
Yep.
Amazon adds Quesky buy now, pay later payment option. So that's a firm just made a tank of about $1 because Amazon brought someone else in as a buy now, pay later option that just got thrown in. So firm to the downside. Only up 5% now. Let's get to the desk. We've got Danielle Shea.
Just actually reading that a firm note. Looks like it's Amazon Mexico. So possibly just Amazon Mexico with Quesky, buy now, pay later. Anyway, hi Danielle Shea, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
Good, happy Monday. It is the week of weeks on the earnings train this time around. So let's get right into it because there's a ton to talk about. Right on cue, you have, I see Amazon pulled up on your chart here. One that we can look forward to this week as well. What are you looking for as far as earnings from AMZN?
So when you look at Amazon, I have high hopes for this one. You know, we had a holiday quarter here, and when you look at this chart, this is my earnings hot zone. What it does is it takes the stats from the past 12 quarters and just basically analyzes these. And so if you look at these bubbles right here, you can see that Amazon last quarter gapped up 5.5% and just continued higher over the course of the quarter. When you have a breakaway gap like that, especially when you have the previous quarter gapping up 9.4%, that's going to be pretty strong. You know, obviously you do have to go back further in time and say, hey, you know, we can see that there were many lower gaps before that, but the recency bias, I think, is good, and I'm going to stick with trading Amazon to the long side. Just keep in mind it's a little extended here.
All right, it's funny, going into their earnings report, we get this note again if you missed it or anyone just joining. Amazon adding a company called Quesky buy now, pay later for Amazon Mexico. So something that we sometimes, anyways, hear during earnings reports. Let's shift to tomorrow after the close, one of two just absolute monster days. We've had a few from the semiconductor group already come through with reports, Intel, SMCI, as the guys were mentioning, after the close tonight. Talk to me about AMD here. It's an important report, I think, for the overall market, but from a technical standpoint, what do we do with AMD?
So, you know, with AMD, and I think this week in particular, it's, again, a stock I really like. I don't think it's as bullish as Amazon, just because if you look at the most recent moves, you know, last quarter, we only gapped up 0.1%, but it was a breakaway gap and it did continue going. The quarter before that, it was up 1.6%. So when you look at this recency bias and you say, hey, you know, it has done well recently, I think that, again, the main problem with it is that it's just had this massive move going into earnings. And so I want to make sure that I tell your traders, like, hey, I like AMD. Hey, I like Amazon on a long-term basis. But what you don't want to do is right before these earnings reports start buying calls or start buying the stock because they've already moved so much. So my plan with these is that if they get a report that is good enough that can continue this momentum higher, I'm going to jump in and trade them after the earnings reports for a bullish move. Because I'll point out with AMD, in the 8 days after earnings, you see this stat right up here in the top left corner. What this is saying is that in the 8 days after earnings, on average, AMD trades higher by about 6.8%. So I think the move here is waiting until after the report. And, you know, if the report's bad, then it's not going to work, right? But I think that's the trade here.
And that goes all the way back to the beginning of them reporting?
So this right here is looking at the stats analyzed over the course of the last 11 quarters.
Okay,
So if you look at this screen in this corner, I can change the time frame to basically whatever time frame I want to look at, but I generally like looking at about 3 years. So it's over the course of about the last 3 years. You know, that's the time frame, and you can see this third row right here. This third row is the row that pops up after the earnings report. And if it's green, that means that the stock was higher 8 days after the report. If it was red, that means it was lower 8 days after the report. So even just looking at, you know, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 reports, there was only one report, which was this quarter right here, 2 quarters ago, which it actually traded lower. So I think it's a pretty solid stat, but of course it is dependent on the report being positive. So it's something that you can combine with a technical trading setup.
Yeah, pretty impressive across the board. That's why I wanted to clarify. That's a nice number. There's so many. Let's go Google and then Microsoft. Everybody I know wants to hear your thoughts on Microsoft.
Sure. So we can do Google first. I mean, Google has been really dicey. If you look at the stats that I have here, I mean, just immediately looking at the bubbles, you can see that half the time it's up, half the time it's down. And for that reason, I hate making a directional call on Google. I'll tell you, last quarter it was down 7.7%, but you know what I do like about it is that when it was down, buyers came in. So I'll tell you, I've still been buying the stock. My price target on it has been about 155, 160. So we're almost up into that zone. But because it traded lower on earnings last quarter and because it's already had this massive rally, again, I'm hesitant to come in and buy it before the report. So I'm looking at this one. If we do get a pullback, I think it'll be a good opportunity to buy more stock. I'm still buying more shares, but I can't go long after it's had this massive move.
All right, and then, yeah, let's shift over to Microsoft on a lot of people's minds here. The leader the past week or so for Softy, what are you thinking?
I love Microsoft. Microsoft's one of my top long-term stock holdings, and the AI story here is going to be absolutely critical. I think Microsoft, more so than any of the others, does have the potential to continue pushing the NASDAQ higher this week. And when you look at Microsoft, you know, again, it's extended. Again, it's already had this massive move up into 410. But let me show you the stat with this one as well. After earnings, Microsoft on average trades higher by about 3%, and that's analyzing the last 11 quarters. So if you look at the way Microsoft has traded, last quarter it was up, quarter before that it wasn't. Okay, we did have a down quarter that quarter, but the quarter before that it was up. Quarter before that it was up. Quarter before that, yeah, we had a down quarter there, but going back in time on a regular basis, you see Microsoft continuing to trade higher after earnings. So here's the thing. I'm bullish Microsoft. I do think that there's a likelihood that it pulls back just because it's already rallied so hard. But if I get that pullback, I have the stats that say, you know, this is a buyable pullback. So that's what I would like to see. I'd like to buy it around 400 and trade it higher again. But I think I'll probably go neutral on this earnings report.
All right, I want to get to Meta and Apple here, and then I also want to get your, if you had to, I don't want to throw all our eggs in one basket here, but if you had to pick out one, we'll get to that at the end. But let's talk about Meta, yeah. Another one coming up this week.
So I think Meta has done incredible. If you look at the last, 5 earnings reports, yes, last quarter it was down ever so slightly, but buyers took that opportunity to come in and buy that stock and continue pushing it higher throughout the rest of the quarter. So I'd say last quarter was a bullish report. As you can see, the 3 quarters before that, 8.9%, 14.6%, 19.8%. They've been on a nice ride right here, and I can't not bet on it to the long side. The only thing is again, it's just already moved so much. So with this one, this is another one that can be great to buy after earnings. I know I'm repeating myself here, but the thing is it's one of my favorite trades. And when you're in a situation where you go into earnings and the market has already moved so much, you just have to be really careful because you don't want to be too bullish ahead of these reports. And most often it's better to come in after the fact. So with Meta, same thing. I'm bullish. I think ultimately it will trade up into 450. But you just got to be careful with it over the report.
All right, with Apple here, the one that's been lagging a little bit over the past week or so as far as the strength we've seen elsewhere in tech goes, so much riding on this when it's when you consider the Vision Pro, that's going to be available in stores February 2nd, which happens to be the end of the week as well. I mean, a lot to talk about when you look at Apple here. What are you thinking?
So I agree with you. I think Apple's the laggard. And if you look at the last two reports, I mean, last quarter it was down 1.9%. The quarter before that, it was down 3%. So I think Apple's a little bit dicey here. Apple does have an expensive product. We are still in a high inflationary environment, even though the rate of inflation has gone down. I think that Apple was dangerously close to breaking below this 200 simple and below the $180 a share price point until Taiwan Semi reported. So, I'm looking at Apple. I don't think I'm going to trade this one because I feel like it has a little bit of a bearish slant, but I hate to short Apple. So I think I'm going to have to wait and see on this one, but I am the least happy going into this one, especially compared to all the others, just because of the way that it's reacted the last two quarters.
And hey, this might be the thing that gets it over the hump and starts to go again. All right, we covered a lot. If you had to kind of point your favoritism in one direction here, as far as a trade is concerned, we're not talking about fundamentals or anything beyond that, but if you're looking for a simple trade setup off of earnings this week, what are you looking at?
So pretty much the thing that I usually do is I'm always going to be looking at what the expected move is. In the options market, I look at what the expected move is. Just take Apple, for example. The expected move is about $6. If I can't make a directional decision and I say, okay, you know what, it has a $6 expected move, let me look at the moves that it had over the course of the last 6 quarters. Was it more than $6 or was it less than $6? In Apple's case, less. So what that tells me is, you know what, I actually don't have to make a directional move. What I can do is in the options market, I can say, let me just sell the at the money calls and puts and buy some outer legs for protection. And what that does is it sells the premium when the premium is the highest directly before that report. And then I buy it back the next day. So I look for tickers where I think that the market makers are pricing in a higher move than what the stock normally does. I sell the premium, I decline to make a directional observation, and then I just buy it back the next day. That's the number one thing that I do during earnings season. I will also make directional bets if I'm confident in a direction, but as I noted on most of these FANGs, I'm bullish, but I have a hard time thinking they're going to continue going higher. So that's why I like the premium selling idea, and I like just trading these in the options market in a neutral manner.
Ms. Danielle Shea, VP of Options over at Simpler Trading. It's going to be an exciting week. Best of luck. We'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
Have a plan. That's what it's all about. Like a thorough plan at that every earnings season. Thank you, Danielle. I think that was great. And we talk about this all the time. Like I said, one of my favorite guests, and the reason why for Danielle is because you get to learn a little something new, right? And every single time we get the earnings season, it's a little bit more exciting. So the market's making fresh highs. The NASDAQ is, 0.97%, almost 1%. Got out of upstart at 35, didn't grab the break. It's now gonzo, so congrats if you hold on to that. I took the point and ran. It started to turn double top at 35, so I took the one change percentage point move, and now the 35 is gonzo. What's crazy about this is it's accelerating, and even, like, remember we left you guys with a firm on that move to the downside? A firm's almost right back into that 44 level. So it dipped on that Amazon Mexico news, and is just going right back into ripping with the overall market. So if we get to the high of the day, probably make a judgment call. We're getting a little bit late in the tooth here. It's 320. There is still time that this could pop right in, maybe for like 350 or something, and look for the short off the top. But the way these are running, I mean, you grab the first available dip by an upstart, and then it breaks out the high like 15 minutes later. That's just how the market is.
All right. What's up to Adam DeLuz? He goes, love how patient Sean is being right now waiting for Neil. Come on, man. Neil's got to explain his upstart to you guys. But you know what just happened, man? This is now $2 in the money. And the thing is, you know, I'm just taking to heart what everybody tells us in the chat. You guys want simple, easy to break down trades. So this is a pretty simple, easy to break down trade that we gave to you, and there it goes, nicely cooking here into that level. So, you know, so far so good. Let's just wait to see if it continues upside. You know, happy to be here for everybody and happy to put on those trades. So again, you know, we are now at the highest spot we've been at all day. So for those of you that are part of Day Trade the World or anything that we're doing here, we have no LFT. So we are at the highest spot we've been at all day right now, and almost all in due to Microsoft. So that was good, and we even told you that we were putting on decent shares if we got into this level. We were lucky enough to get it. And again, like, we could have just missed it. This would have not been as aggressive of a trade if we didn't have that bid there. So that was good. We were able to take those shares back up to the upside. And good out so far, I guess, on Boeing, as that's just right here right now. So kind of like where that trade is. We just got out of that on the way back in as well. So again, capturing the profit where the profit lies. It's hard. Like, we can have crystal balls. It's easier to pick direction. You know, like being $2 in the money on Apple is just kind of another good idea, because we already had Apple. We knew we wanted Apple long. When it tanked in there, though, we didn't know what was going on earlier on, so we bought it against that bottom, and now you're infinitely in the money against your stop. So you got to be sort of careful about some of those trades. But yeah, has world peace been declared? Yes, it has. As the NASDAQ's up now 1%, the ES is up. We're at all-time highs for everything. So here we go again, as far as equity markets are concerned. Obviously, not all-time highs for USO and oil.
Well, not everything.
Yeah, we can have a look. Yeah, just in equity markets, guys.
Not for natural gas, that's for damn sure.
No, natural gas is a foolish trade to be in. It's great for swing trade, but nat gas. We have to look. We can look at Boyle here. Let's look at Boyle. $21. How much is it up or down right now? Down 10%.
11.
So yeah, continuously bleeding downside there. It's like that one time when Sharif mentioned, Sharif's a super busy guy, so I don't want to talk too much to him, but when I mentioned to him about why he was long nat gas, and then I'm pretty sure the very next day or whatever he got out, it was against a trade. And everything I read about this is like, oh my God, you have to know what you're doing for sure. So watch out for Boyle and nat gas as that continues to move around a little bit. I love XLEIK, so that's what I'm in. I'm in the Canadian equivalent, basically, of XLE. It's a Bank of Montreal managed fund.
Yeah, and you know what? I haven't bought that. Like, I do homes. I own some of that, but I bought it like a while ago, and I haven't really added to it. Like, I think in the energy space, most of my holding in Canada is in Enbridge, and then I own like Chevron, and I recently bought Oxy because Warren Buffett's supposed to make me make money on that trade.
Right. Yeah.
So
good luck with that.
What up, Uncle? We can't break the 50 period, bro. I shouldn't be calling Warren Buffett bro, but this is, again, like Oxy. Really? Is it not going to get the time I'm in? It's not going to get to 60. Seriously? Every time this thing bounces off 58, Warren, or 55, Warren, we get there. It just means he's been buying it. He owns 31% of the company, I believe. You can probably check the 30F to see if that's changed. But this is getting insane. Like, I just got out at 35. The 35 break on Upstart did this, by the way. Like, it clean. Like, that the dip 35, this is when that treasury note happened, and then it was right to 35, that 50-cent move, and then the other 50-cent move when it took out that top. I still think with that news, if you're going to even try anything, I mean, a firm is at that 44 level. It's crazy to want to be looking at shorts. I'm still in Fisker. That's just from earlier today. I have not added to the Fisker position. As a matter of fact, I just tightened up my stop. And if you can't figure out where do you think stop got tightened up to on this move, 91 cents, because somebody else is selling 91 cents. If that breaks, it's probably going higher. So Fisker, I can probably cancel that bid. If it breaks 91, I'm just jumping out of that. Do not need to be fighting it. If we get some kind of a dip buy, no issues whatsoever. No issues whatsoever. Adam to lose. Don't worry, brother. It's all well and good, man. Like this is the thing about the show. You gotta have fun in the afternoon. The market's blasting up, so like if you're in a long, you know it's going, and you gotta be happy about it. I think what's amazing is I've felt cautionary. Whoops, I meant to have AMD up here. I felt cautionary about where some of these names have gone into this massive earnings week. Like AMD has doubled since like November, or just I guess it's like late October. Doubled going into earnings tomorrow. We're at fresh highs in the biggest earnings week. You would think there'd be some profit takers going out in front of it, yet what keeps happening in the afternoon? It feels like we just keep making high after high on most things tech related. I don't want to say all, but like most things tech related have been doing it. So, you know, it is what it is. I can think that we're kind of primed for some disappointment this week, especially in some of the chip names, but the market keeps telling you it's a long.
Yeah, I mean, look at this Tesla, man. We got out at 188.50. Now it's at 191. So, I mean, it just continues to go here and go and go and go. As Tesla, once again, there it is, man. Congratulations if you held that. I didn't hold it, of course, but we've still got Apple, $2. We've got Microsoft, $2. And then since we've been doing that, we've given up about $1.50 in Tesla, right? So there it is. Huge move. Now taking out the day's high in that as well. So, okay, bye-bye Tesla. Unfortunately, we're having an issue with our line here, so like some of my charts aren't even really loading, so hopefully we'll be able to get that all figured out. So, but we could go back over to AMD real quick and try to find out about that. All right, so here's AMD. Yeah, into 178. You know, we've talked about trying to short this one, and it really hasn't worked out as far as shorting is concerned there today. So we've only gone long, and right now you're coming up into that 178 level for AMD. There it goes again. I'm using my e-signal charts. They're not really working because we are having some internet slowness. So, all right, nice upside move. I'm going to wait for 178 in order to get short there. We're, like I said, $2 here on this. So I really like this trade as well here for Microsoft, but I just want to hold it now until the end of the day. The NASDAQ's now up 1% and still going. So I don't really think of any reason to get out of this one. So I feel like we should still stay there, and then same as Apple, still stay there as well, as that's trying to rip upside here too. So all good so far, waiting for something to have happen.
Palantir's at 17 now.
Yeah, right now. So yeah, okay, well.
It's so late for a breakout. It's
Palantir 17.
3:30 for a breakout is a little bit late to just punch a high. That's the only issue with the Palantir at 70. I like the even dollars on Palantir. I just don't know if we get a chance at it. Like mean revert, like a firm here. Someone asked, a firm gets bad news, it's going up. Well, because I mean everything just went up. Like anything that was risk related just made a punch through wherever it was. I was just watching Rivian. I'll get to that in a quick second. I still think with the bad news, if I were to take a shot, it's showing some signs of sellers at 44 here on a firm, and that might be it. Rivian is also at a fresh double top here, 1610. This was the top. And I think it's bad luck. I was holding on to Rivian to try and get the high. It looked weak at the 90s, threw the order in, and then that Treasury news hit. You're out, and then the next thing you know, the stock goes up another 1.5%. And that's just what happens. If there's a curl at the high of the day, Rivian gives you 1610. Lucid gives you 340. So 341 is the top. I'm going to jump into this one, give it a couple cents. I'm not thinking about VWAP up here, but it's more that there is a seller at 40, and I'm just going to look to join. So I'll see if I can get a 38 fill, maybe a midpoint, give it the 3 cents to the high of the day. We did just have an explosive move up, and some profit taking going into the end of the day would make some sense. Like, I'm not going to stand in front of the Tesla freight train, but at least this gives me a pretty clean double top setup on something like Lucid to take a shot at. Fisker, I'm getting out at the 91 if it wants to go. Oh, there was Marvell. I knew there was something I wanted to. Marvell broke that 70 level today. So up 3%. It's back above the big level 70. It rejected this last week. It just took it back out. So this is on a bit of a run. I don't know if we'll get a chance to dip by it, but it might be worth it to try to pick up some 70s. You just go to the 3-minute chart here. on the way back in, maybe give it 20 cents or so. It's only 3:30. There is still some time left in the day, but that's a big level. It rejected it hard last week on Marvell, now up 3%. This is another one. They don't report until like the end of February, I want to say, after NVIDIA at least. But when they move on earnings, it's not that far removed from SMCI when it comes to volatility. I'd expect they're going to do some fun things tomorrow after AMD's earnings, that's for sure.
Yeah, Marvell's a good name to watch. They're all really good names to watch. You just got to stay focused and only maybe trade a couple different names. Don't just keep on going back and forth. Play setups, of course, as we talked about. We only have 15% of this Microsoft left, but we're long at 407.69. It did go up to 409.70, so that's $2 right there. I still feel like we want to hold this coming into the close. Let me look at a firm. All right, so a firm's up to 44. Again, probably a decent level to short. That's at 44.50 as being the ultimate top there. I'm not too worried about Amazon or anything like that. I mean, obviously I want to go short, so I feel like all the bad news for this name is kind of what we want to come through there. So I do feel like, hey, if you're long a firm or anything like that, yeah, maybe not the greatest.
IWM.
Yeah, IWM kind of sucks too. I can imagine only. People have talked about getting into small cap names, but I still think there's a move coming to the downside in this market. So IWM today is probably screaming to the upside.
What?
I still think it's a short.
At 3 o'clock on that Treasury news, IWM
1.6.
Like, look at the volume spike is the key thing. Is that my chart? I guess it's my chart. Yeah, the volume spike is the key, like just overwhelming volume. Sometimes if you're looking for a reason for a continuation, look at the spike in volume, look at the volume when it's retaking the high. Like it settles back down almost immediately, but then the volume spikes again to bigger than open levels when it's taking out that local high. That's a good continuation. You want to see high volume in a move like that. So that's obviously it's fantastic for it. You've seen a lot of these small and mid cap names be strong in the afternoon. So I'm in 38 and change, 38 and a third actually. I did get some midpoints on Lucid there. And if it breaks the high is 341, I'll just jump out of it, looking for that scalp trade to reverse into 30s and then 25s. The early look on the imbalances came out 282 million to the buy side. Shocker. The imbalances are to the buy side in a day where we're breaking fresh highs at the end of the day. But individual names, nothing really stood out. You got a couple of banks in there which typically don't move all that much. They tend to pair off a lot. So there's not any individual names on the early look for the imbalances. It's really just the fact that the markets and some of these small caps screaming to the upside once again. Upstart, I thought maybe there would be one last dip buy opportunity. Right back at the highs for UPST, almost 10% to the upside. Ugh, crazy.
Crazy times. All right, so another crazy time would be Boeing. We've already gotten out. We have that 10% left. I'm just giving you guys some outs. So we're $2 in the money on 2 trades right now. So not much for me to do. We're going to wait for this level to break before we get out. 205.36. It's a 30-cent hit, but like we just got to fill down there at 204, which is $1.30. So we'll wait for our last little percentage to come out on that play. And yeah, I was really, really close to saying short.
Affirm?
No, AMD, and maybe we should have.
I love how I see
it just, oh man, I was going to do it against 178 there. 20 cents worth. That's okay. I mean, that ultimate, I probably would have shorted story 75. So right now it's 50 cents in the money for 25 cents worth of risk. Obviously worth it, but you know, you don't know that's going to happen. And like you think that the machines are turned on, I feel like they're on AMD, but the machines are turned on in the market. $2 both ways, looking for something else. Let's go over to a weaker name, Intel maybe, especially if we think this market, yeah.
Oh, it's strong now.
Yeah, but I would probably rather short this than AMD. So again, we have that bad wick up there. All right, right back into sort of pre-market levels. Intel could be a good short up here. That could be something. So that, you know, there's a short there. 43.60, I was going to say right here is the 50-period moving average right there. If we can get under that, then you could use 43.80 maybe as your out to the high side there. So instead of sort of standing in the way, you could wait for this to come back into 60, which would be right there, and then reshort it. But I don't know. What's up, CompuCare team?
Mara.
As well. Mara's moving around. I mean,
What's crypto doing?
43 nothing. It's been 43 this whole afternoon. Is Mara moving around?
Well, there's a big volume
Adobe
spike.
all-time highs?
There's a big volume spike in Mara. I think that's what they were referring to. Like this, it looks legit. That's the biggest volume candle of the day on Mara, and it just happened. Well, okay, maybe there was a slightly bigger one at the open, but this just happened, it breaking out. So there's something going on with Mara. I don't know that. The last time this happened, I think I'm pretty sure that I jumped into Mara for a continuation play right around the same time, and then it just didn't do much for me. And I'm like 90% sure this happened to me last week, so I'm going to stay away from it. Someone just said, I saw in the chat, like, Rivian short the top. Look at this on Rivian at 1610. I'm in Lucid, but that might have been, like the double top here is the same on Lucid and Rivian. Rivian 1610, it's got a wick to 14s. I think it's a distinction without a difference. Lucid just happens to be up higher in a percentage, but it's the same double top. So I'm in the 38.5. Rivian's exactly the same setup. You just basically like either it breaks the high, you lose a couple cents, or it breaks back down with 25 minutes to go and people take some profits. I usually think people are going to take profits of bad stocks when they have them in the afternoon. And you've got runs like this, especially squeezes. Yeah, there goes Palantir through 17. Could still trade the 17 level tomorrow.
All right, so the last couple, I mean, there's reasons why we're doing the podcast. These are the last couple stocks that we've talked about buying on the podcast. Palantir, so 16 to 17, right? We talked about Adobe being underneath near and around that 580. So that's another stock that we talked about down here to buy. It actually went as low as 560, but we were talking about it down here. That's now at all-time highs, Adobe. And then another stock we talked about two podcasts ago was Nike at $100. That's now 4% in the money. And then one that we talked about on this Friday, of course, nothing you could have done about it, but we talked about holding on to your sort of whatever you have on SOFI, and that's now back up to the upside. So make sure you do watch that as Sharif runs to the gym and is going to listen to the podcast. I'm going to question him on that tomorrow, so make sure you do as well. Thanks to Adara for mentioning some podcast stuff today. All right, so 1720. Look, we really like Palantir, but it's getting a little spicy today. Watch out for 1720. I actually like the fade here into 1720. Well, it's going to have to go up, and then we'll fade that play. So a little higher, maybe 1715 or so. We're going to watch out for that. Isn't AMC like at $4? Which
it bounced at $4 today.
Yeah, which would be
398 bottom.
Yeah, so 40 cents. So right now this is worth 42 cents. So it might be a good trading tool, not a great investment tool right now. So we'll be careful with whatever's happening here with AMC as that's going up to the upside right there. But yeah, bouncing off $4, pretty much all-time lows, I think, now for AMC. I mean, that would make sense to me, 40 cents. I don't ever remember
it's back to the bottom after the split. It has to be.
Yeah, it's at all-time lows here.
It has to be all-time.
Yeah, sorry about that for anybody that's on AMC, but just be careful. I feel like a buy maybe tomorrow if that comes in. So we'll have to wait to see what happens there on AMC. And yeah, man, SMCI, people talking about it. I think it could be big, and we'll just wait for that tonight. Make sure you catch me again, putting in time for you guys. So do it right there. Join me on the market recap show. 4 to 4:30, we'll have Michael Noss on. We'll talk about some trade ideas that he may have. The dollar's ripping today, or tanking. We'll have a look at that as well. So if you want to know some trade ideas, come to the market recap show where we'll go over all of the earnings and talk about some potential moves tomorrow as well. That's the market recap show. What's up, Ozan?
Ozan in the house. I want to try to get to, we got a lot of questions in there, and it's like, I know you guys ask us about a lot of stocks. Try to give you as many opportunities out there to have your questions answered. I'll get to Alt in a second, but Pfizer, wherefore art thou at the bottom, Pfizer? You know what up with this thing. It's been, I don't want to, dumpster fire is not the right word, but it has been in an ugly trend into the downside. You know the real story here. They're in the penalty box because their weight loss drug has not worked out. That's one of the easy stories to explain, and that's what everybody wants to. It might not matter too much how good the quarter is if you don't have some positive stories coming from their weight loss alternative. And it's just, it can be that simple, You look at what Eli Lilly and Novo have done, you look at their stock price, and you look at every other name in the sector to a certain extent, and it has not been pretty. So I just recently got this at the pandemic low, which was 26 bucks. So I waited for it to get down there to buy, and would have been nice, you got 10% profit, but I mean, I'm not sitting there to take the 10% profit, I'm holding on to it. So I'm not that optimistic unless they give you some really good news, but it seems like a really good spec because you're getting a good discount on the company, and then if they do figure itself out with the drug, with their weight loss drug, the upside is explosive, as you've seen with Eli Lilly and Novo. Ulta Beauty is just a good company. Chris Miller, like there's nothing to say. People, yada yada. Load the. Okay, I guess we knew the charts were a little bit slow, but this is taking a second to load. I'll try my trade ideas here, but Ulta is a great looking company. One that just recently took out a fresh high. There we go. It just broke that 500 double top. Pretty sure this was covered in the midday show. It's got some serious overhead resistance. I'm waiting for this to pull back so you can see it's got some serious overhead resistance coming. If you're into that sort of thing, you did just have a golden cross on it. Not really something that I pay too much attention to, but it might give you some confluence that you could revisit these highs. It's on the midst of a breakout. And when something does a break like this, can it hold the previous support resistance level, which is that 500, maybe even a tick underneath it to the 490 level. But Ulta Beauty, can't really say anything negative about it. I don't own it in the long term, but it's just making the start of another leg to the upside. And if you happen to also like the fact that the 50 crossed the 200, that's your golden cross as well to give a little extra juice to that. But we talked about this before. Remember that it was it Mobileye? I'm pretty sure it was Mobileye that had a golden cross, and then 2 days later was down, 20-something% on earnings. It's just a couple of lines crossing on a chart. Look for confluence or some other reason to go long or like it. This one upward trend, this one breaking 500. The only new position we just put on was Lucid, short at that top. It just started breaking into the downside. I'm going to assume that you probably could have done the exact same thing on Rivian. Rivian short 1610. You could have just shorted that off its double top as well. So both these starting to pull back in here, Lucid and Rivian. Rocket ships to the upside all day long. But they got to a double top. Look for the retracement trade. I'm not thinking VWAP here. If it gets down into the quarters, that's good enough. 38, I was short 38.3 as an average price. So risking about 3 cents. Once it went 1-to-1, we take some out, look to get the rest out with only 15 minutes to go till the end of the day here.
So I'm going to get in trouble here because I don't remember which guest it was, but it's because on the market recap show, we were talking about Ulta Beauty breaking that level. Somebody liked it. I just can't remember who it was. I'm going to say Chris Bretcher, but I'm not 100% sure. Those of you that are a trader and stay late, traders stay late. So let me know who that was. But somebody talked about Ulta Beauty, and I remember making a stupid joke about, people going back to work and all that kind of stuff. So, it was Danielle? Okay, so good. So there we go, man. Nice little move there, up to 5 bills and trying to break through. So thanks for everybody for that one, and thanks to Danielle. There it is. Okay, good. So yeah, that was a good call, needless to say, as it's starting to go. I'm going to try to, okay, so just again, we got out of Microsoft there. We got out at 50. I just didn't, the highest this guy ever got was 10. We'll give back 50 cents, ring the register on that one. Pretty happy, obviously, with that take there on Microsoft. Still needs a little bit of work to get going, but again, we'll take it. Just was worried that the market could be coming back in, so we'll watch out for that. Boeing survived that top break. We didn't get it, so we're back into the short on this same short position, but it didn't clock us out. It almost did. We're just going to try to hold, like I said, we're just going to try to hold as many of these into the close as we possibly can. She was spot on Ulta. That's right, Zion. So that's what I'm saying, man. Traders, stay late. Make sure you do that. We'll give you lots of trading ideas every single day on the market recap show as well. So it's a new position. That's Travolta. But we're looking for this. I'm just going to go against 16.15. That's the high of the day. So 10 cents worth of risk right there on Rivian, up to that high. Unfortunately, we have the largest stock here today. It's going to be Tesla P&L wise, and we got out right there. Needless to say, we left some money on the table there as it double topped at 191. So shoulda, coulda, woulda, but that would have been nice to get out there on Tesla instead of where we did. But right now, Rivian back down, and it's already 344. So that imbalance has come from well, we have so much stuff because I was complaining about our line being slow, and then now it's, so I don't know. I think it was a sell imbalance or something like that, but
It was 285, I want to say. 282 was buy side, though. It was 282 to the buy side.
282 to the buy side. Okay, so we'll watch out to see what's happening there. Boeing still a nice short. Apple still $2 and change in the money. You can see all my positions. With only 15 minutes left, man, I think we'll probably just give what we have a minute. And the only new position will probably be Rivian against that high, just in case we fade out. But 5% up for Rivian really isn't that much, so it could continue to go higher here. Rip into the close could be possible for Rivian.
Yeah, part of why I think, I don't know if I mentioned this, but like one of the reasons Lucid has the percent move that it does versus Rivian is 27% short float. You know, like it's an uglier looking stock on the daily, and then you throw in that 27% short float. That's why you'll get outsized moves on Lucid. But both of those, as mentioned, like you're getting to that double top at the highs. I just got another leg out there. It just tapped off 34. So for the last 10 minutes, you can see here, like 34 is just the bottom. So observing that, get some out at the midpoint. If it breaks lower, I got some more bids in the 30s, and we'll see how far that one can go down. But double tops on both of those names. I mentioned Fisker. It did run the stop at 91. That could have been an entry point, but it wasn't really doing anything. The key with Fisker was it wasn't quite as crazy as the other two, and then when they already turned, there was a chance to fade Fisker after Lucid and Rivian had made a top. That was sort of the thing. Like I was looking for this morning, if you're watching the morning show, looking for an EV name that was also going parabolic when the other two turned, just short one that hasn't turned yet off of a key price level. So that's a lot of times something I like is find the sympathy name when there's a crazy move happening in a specific sector, and if you can, good luck to you. I clearly did not take the short on a firm, but when in doubt, I suppose just take the short on a firm if you like the setup. That was that 44 level. It ended up feeling that there was the news with Amazon in Mexico with adding on a new buy now, pay later option. A firm flushed a dollar, then the market decided to rip. That brought a firm up with it, and then that was coming right back in. Thankfully, you know, whatever. It is what it is. Like, thankfully, we weren't trying to short that one at the bottom or at VWAP or something, because that would have got nasty. Holding these highs is Upstart. It never even pulled back. This is going to be a good battle tomorrow in Upstart. Bouncing off the 200, now holding above the 50. If this can get through about 37 and 38, it's over 40% short float in Upstart. If it can break out this top, you got a lot of room to that 50 level on the daily chart. When this moves, I mean, you know it really moves when Upstart starts to go. Forget about how explosive a firm can be at sometimes, screaming to the upside. This has even more volatility when it starts squeezing because of that gigantic short interest.
All right, shout out to my lovely wife who is in the chat. So we'll go bang for that one. Shout out, and shout out to Miss Danielle Shea, who was also in the chat. And then a shout out to everybody else who's in the chat as well. We won't do roll call, we'll save that. And then see, Danielle, we remembered that Ulta Beauty, but I didn't remember who it was, but you're in the chat there. And everybody on the chat remembered who it was, Danielle Shea with Ulta. So that's a great call right there as well. Okay. So yeah, man, Apple's still $2, Boeing. I don't have much to talk about other than, which if my wife is in the chat, we got lots to talk about. That's part of why. It's so funny because I said to Marissa, I was like, oh man, I don't know what to talk about in this podcast. And she said, don't worry, you have lots to talk about. An hour later, we had one of the best podcasts we've ever had. So check that one out. Thanks to Brendan for all the hard work on that one as well. So, all right, we're going to get ready to go to an IG ad read. So let's go over to Brendan.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah.
That they do.
Terms.
1 minute till the imbalances drop. Just a bit of an update here. Ford, kind of out of nowhere, just popped up here for $4 million to sell. It wasn't there before. I double checked. Is it doing anything? Your guess is probably the correct one in that no, it did not really move on that imbalance. Kind of came down a couple cents there. Ford's up again, up 1%. And worth mentioning, Ford is doing a gentle glide off the 50-period moving average here. But a 4 million sell imbalance, worth watching as the imbalances drop in about 30 seconds, whether or not it can stay. If it gets bigger, that's always of interest to me. But we'll leave it on here. The only position I'll have on is Lucid, as mentioned, already on the bid. If it takes out a fresh high, going to jump out of that trade. You're still getting a small pullback on the NASDAQ here, not a huge one off those highs. We were 1% to the upside. Now you're like 0.9. So the NASDAQ's still looking pretty strong. But I could see a few reversals coming in. The imbalances will drop in just a couple of seconds here. Have a trailing stop on that, or have to stop on that. Lucid, the only position in. So Ford stays as expected. TD's a buy of 3 million. TLT shows up almost every day at 2.4. Really not much XOMs in there, but that's only 800,000. Google, 800,000 to the buy side. Haven't seen the overall number just yet, but Google would be the biggest of the big cap tech at that 800,000 mark. Nothing even at that 500,000 mark either. So it's a bit muted on the imbalances there, with the standout being a bank, which will probably pair off, and then Ford, which I showed you, wasn't really moving at all.
All right, guys, let's just recap what we're doing. We're going to get out of Apple near 192. It's a $2 winner, so that's going to be good. We just got out of another trade there. I just put a Boeing bid out. I don't know, man. I mean, we'll take 50 cents on that, or maybe less. What were we short at? 14? I don't remember. 14s and out 80s, so 30, 40 cents. Oh, actually, hold on a second. I'll tell you exactly how many pennies it was. Oh, no, I can't because I got a bunch of, 27 pennies. Okay, so 27 pennies right there. So that's pretty good. We'll take that and watch to see what happens now as this market's getting ready to close up here today. So again, the imbalance was 170 to buy from Brendo, so not too big there. We're going to wait to see what happens to Rivian. This is going to be the last of the last, and we wait for that pullback. I'm going to get back over to the big desk in just a couple seconds. So again, just thank you to everybody for continuously watching and enjoying the stream, because that's why we put in all this work. We talk about the recap show, talk about the podcast, the real deal, all that kind of stuff. So again, we're putting in the work for you. Thank you so much for supporting everything that we're doing. So that's, about all that I have to say there. We're going to be getting out of Rivian. It's just not moving. I may just put a bid on this and call it a day here on RIVN with not too much action right now in this name. So that's what I'm going to do. Probably just get out. I mean, we could wait for it to fall back in. I don't really see the point. We'll just bid it out. We're short here at 04 and change. If we can get an 07 fill, we'll just take that instead of waiting for the ultimate out, which would be the top there.
Yeah, I'm just getting out here at this bid. There's a refresher at 3. I mentioned this on Lucid at 334. So why mess with it? I'm just getting, just get it all out at 35, because if it's not going to break that level, like whatever. Like it turned at 40s, able to get 38s and some midpoint prints at 38.5. But that's about it. And it only goes to 34. So we'll just take that and run. Shout out to Slav Paradise. Bought SMCI shares for earnings. YOLO. Good luck. The thing about that is, like I understand, it's a strong-looking stock in the daily. We just know this could be up or down 25%. It could easily move that much. The implied volatility was only, it was like 11%, but the last time was 39. So I'd expect there's nothing that would surprise me when it comes to, I really mean that. I genuinely mean it. If we're at $600 or we're underneath $400, neither one would surprise me, and I don't really know enough about them to make a call on their business whatsoever. Like when it came to, I had my concerns with Intel because I knew there was going to be, they're generally conservative with their guidance, and that was probably going to get them punished. That's exactly what happened with them. But with SMCI, I'm just going to be interested in what it can do to the markets tomorrow on the stocks that I want to be trading. I mentioned, I know I'll be looking at Intel, but Marvell is going to be very much on my radar after that 70 breakout. So if it's upside tomorrow for the chips, I'm going to like me some Marvell. Almost no questions about it above that 70 level. If we go downside, I'd probably look to short some Intel tomorrow, being honest with you guys. Got to walk with that one. You stick to what works, and you can't go wrong there. Paulie D, what up, D's? SMCI is surely dropping $50 immediately. Well, you're not going to have to wait long to find out. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to sit down where you are right now or stand. If you have a standing desk, that's great too. If you're sitting wherever you happen to be consuming the show, and wait for the market recap. I don't know what time SMCI is going to report, but I promise you, you're going to be able to tell by the ridiculous you-know-what wick on the chart that occurs when it happens. It's not moving like 5%.
And the conference call, yeah, expected move is 11%. It moved 35% last time. The conference call is 5 o'clock, so we'll see
it'll be
when that comes through. So, yeah, look, I mean, again, hopefully you've had a good day here. Some big, huge trades today. We'll look to make some more tomorrow. You know, we're here every day, so it should be good. All right, that's about it. I just want to check in to see what Boeing's doing. So Boeing is pretty flat there. We got it of, okay, good. We got it of Apple right there at 75. So now that's pulling back down. A quick check in on Tesla. Tesla's fading a little bit. That 191.50 was the high there. Check in on what we were doing on Google. Oh, wow, Google 153. Yes, sir, man. All these accounts, like remember I was telling you it's Google, Apple, Microsoft, like they just keep on replacing each other as like top stocks, and it just keeps on working out right now. Amazon, we didn't buy any dips in Amazon, but that's up to 161. Wow. What a great story some of these tech names are as they just continue to rip upside. Don't check your accounts, man, if you're in tech, because you're going to be like, wow, and then you might sell some. Wait, do not do any. I don't think you should do anything this week. Wait for earnings to come through and then see, because if we get any kind of an actionable, I mean, I sold some last. You could trim some if you wanted to, but like some of these movements here, we saw Netflix, we just talked about Ulta Beauty taking it out. Adobe, we recommended at 580, it's 640 right now. I mean, there's just so many buy opportunities. Pan W, all this stuff. Look at this. Remember down here, right before Netflix, we were like, I think Netflix is going to beat. Well, it's only up $100 right now in about 5 days. So, I mean, the story still is the same for all of these names, man. Stay locked and loaded. And the other name that's really, really working, and honestly, I may get out some. We had more shares in this than we even thought, man. And Disney with a huge move up. We talked about this pretty much all the time on the Market Recap Show. We discussed this Disney. We discussed it down here at 90 bucks. And look at this movement. Nice move back to the upside. Wow for Disney. That's put a lot of coin in the pockets as well. So I'll be seeing everybody in just about 3 minutes. Hopefully my voice will last. But I do it for everybody, man. You know, so hopefully you guys will stay there, watch it, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and all of that. We're not going anywhere, man. We're sacrificing for you guys. Traders, continue to stay late.
And as you mentioned that Disney, I mean, to be honest with you, like you almost couldn't lose, because I sold Disney on that last little bit of a dip, and I could be kicking myself, but hey, you got to keep your money in the market. It went from Disney and into the thing that I felt it should have been in the entire time, which is to add to my Netflix position. So you win either way when you're in good companies. The market's going to the upside. I just want to point one last thing out. We have 3 minutes to go. That Micron, I forgot about Micron. We talked about Marvell, Micron in that trend trade for the last little bit here, the last year or so. It's up at that top. 90 breaks, and Micron is breaking a big trend. Intel did something similar to this and went absolutely ham after breaking its trend line. It did another like 15% to the upside in a matter of like a month and a half. So, you know, if Micron does the same thing on some of these chips, I think it'd be spectacular. I just saw in the chat what happened to Pinduoduo. If you're paying attention to Pinduoduo, I've had one line on this chart for a while now, 136 flat bottom break. 136, 136. For my money, all that happened today is 136 broke. And when it broke, it died. It's that simple. There's a reason we talk about this. Flat bottom breaks occur because it's a big level. And if you identify a big level and it gets breached, well, then there's pressure on the stock. And that's exactly what happened. It was Dump City. I think it was at one point down 10%. So I don't know if it actually got SSR, but it certainly came pretty close to it. There's your 136 break. We said that was a big level. It bounced off it a couple times, gave you 10 bucks, and now it absolutely died. SMCI is going to be on the mind for, I think, most people here. It has a chance to challenge 500 going into the close. They're buying it going into earnings. Good luck to everybody that's taken that one. That is a wild look. It's a wild stock to be betting on. The fact that it has double-digit expected volatility on earnings, and it did 3 times that. Says everything you need to know about what this can do for sure. Derry's going to be on the bell in just 1 minute. The best thing about this is, like, I'm jazzed for SMCI because, you know, the volatility, but you've still got half the mag, well, I guess they're not the mag 7, you know, Sans Tesla, half reporting on Tuesday. You've got AMD as well. SMCI starts it off. We didn't even mention that General Motors pre-market is going to be coming for you. Pfizer is going to be pre-market as well. So there's a heck of a lot to dig into in this week, but it's going to be all about the chips to start it, because I think this stock here, SMCI, is probably going to make a few people do a screw face when they see that print drop in one direction or the other. It doesn't even matter. It's going double digits. But get the camera off me. Throw over to Adara. Countdown is on. It's only Monday, and it's already been a great start to this massive earnings week that we're about to see in 5, 4, 3, 2, and ring it. And there you go. Market is closed. The NASDAQ over 1% to the upside. The ES only 0.75%. That's all you can do. S&P 500, you can do better than that. We need that 1-pointer next time. Shout out to Fabian and Ramin on the 1s and 2s. We had some issues this morning. They got fixed. Big shout out to Juan in the back for coming through and fixing that position board for us. As always, midday was great with Adara and Sharif talking about those gap trades, filling the gap, and then move to the upside. We talked some halts with the real deal. And as always, fantastic guest this afternoon, Ms. Danielle Shea and Brendan at the big desk. You know how they do it every single day. Nothing just yet on SMCI, but you don't have to worry about it. We got you covered. SMCI is going to be absolutely wild when you got the right place to be to watch those earnings, because you're going right to the desk. It's the market recap show. It is SMCI Insanity, very likely, with Sean at the desk.
All right, we'll wait. Thank you for watching here. It's Traders Stay Late. It's your market recap. Thank you so much for joining again. We do have the Benzinga Pro platform here. So as soon as someone hits, we will have this for you immediately. I did hit save on that board. It should be right as it comes up. If not, run to my computer and go do that. But we're waiting for Crowd Microsoft. If you come over to my screen right now, you'll be able to see what I'm looking at as well. There it is, Benzinga. We'll find out what's going on with that coming out soon, any sort of earnings that drop. And then as you'll see on the board, there it is right there. We have Nucor and SMCI. Kind of a slow day for earnings, but tomorrow we start kicking it all. Make sure you do watch the podcast. We talked all about earnings and what to expect here today. All right, I was just looking at this because IBIT right there, 3% to the upside today. And I'm using IBIT as Bitcoin. We could probably put up GBTC. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense. I'm still trying to add Ethereum to this list. Shout out to Michael Noss if he's watching. I can't get it. It's the only one. I'm doing it the same way as all the rest. IBIT up 2.8%. Actually, Michael wants to talk a little bit about TAN today, so maybe we'll do that. Again, an ETF that's near the bottom. This is your solar ETF. This is the Invesco. What was down today? UNG. They call this the Widowmaker. For a reason, it is downside right now. General Motors boost quarterly dividend 33% from 9 cents to 12 cents. We'll see if GM doing anything here in the aftermarket. Nope, not much going on there. You know, Michael Noss has been talking uranium for a while. This name looks to break out as well. We'll talk to him about that. What else was up today? It's the Qs, baby. All-time highs for both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Who thought we'd get to all-time highs at the end of January? I actually thought, and you guys know this, I thought there could have been a pullback in the market late January. Let's just wait to see what happens after Powell and this week of earnings. Kind of hard for the market to make a move down when earnings keep kicking, you know what, upside, and that's what they're doing right now. And you know what's upside? The SM-H continues to go as well, up 1.2%. Hey man, my eyes are still over here. No big earnings out yet. We're waiting for Nucor, as you can see on the board. That's not out. And then wait till you see SMCI. Right now, maybe it's out, maybe it's not. SMCI right now from 495 all the way up to 502 and change. Let's see what's happening with SMCI. Possible upside mover right now for this. Up to 502 and change. Starting to go is SMCI. I don't have it out, of course. course, this is super micro. Today, what a day for AMD. This is the daily chart up here. This is the minute chart. You know what? Let's keep a minute chart up, but let's zoom out a little bit just to see what exactly we had. So it was a nice bottom today. I got to get crosshairs up on here. Right click. I'll do this after. But down there, 174.75. Because I use the same layout for the podcast, some things have changed a little bit on there. But again, AMD, nice move, closing back near where we kind of started, up at 178.25. But look at this huge move early. This is just potentially Wednesday morning. AMD coming tomorrow night. Huge move to the downside, but look where we bought up, 174 down there for AMD. So we'll take a look at that. As SMCI, we are all still waiting with bated breath on this report. So what else was good today? Gold down 0.7. We could have a look there for GLD, possibly buying some strength. The news today, though, we had some news, Amazon and iRobot. So you're going to see IRBT today, 52-week lows. So here we go. Nice move to the downside again. Can't remember the price that they were getting bought at, but it definitely was not here as that deal squashed from Amazon. Now iRobot making new lows there. Nice downside move. The EU terminates this. Amazon set to report earnings Thursday. Let's have a quick look at what Amazon did off that. Hey, no iRobot, no problem for Amazon as that continues to make moves to the upside. We don't really need volume down here. Maybe we'll get rid of volume and squash that to the downside. But there we go. Nice move up for Amazon there today, finishing at the day's high for AMZ. And, you know, some interesting names that we've talked about again on the podcast. We've talked about Adobe buying that dip, and man, was that a good trade. ADBE, hello, that's Adobe. I was like, why isn't that loading up right there, 565? We talked about that coming into this level, and we actually talked about it in and around that day was our first podcast in the new year. Now Adobe taking out highs. And why did we like it? AI. So who's going to be that AIO? Microsoft, one of the only names right now with a product that's out there both on the consumer side and on the business side, the enterprise side. Copilot right now. We had Daniel Shea talking all about Amazon. I like it, Microsoft. I like it all the way to the top side. And that was a good trade for us there. We're not logged in. Okay, we'll have to get logged in on our account to show you some of that trade there for Amazon. But we still don't have any earnings out yet. Is SMCI out? No, it's not. We are brought to you by Benzinga. So if there's anything in here, also Trade ID is a sponsor as well. But for right now, we're going to look at our Benzinga platform. And unfortunately, nobody here to be found on Benzinga. You know what? Here, let's go into this. Let's go into our trader information portal. Is it not going to load? Here it is. And let's just find out, while I get the show up here, we can actually see who made the most money Friday here at Day Trade the World. So we're going to find that out in just a minute. I'm also going to check out who's live with us. We have over 4,000 right now watching. We are also live on Twitter right now. So we'll go over to the profile and find out for that and see how many people are watching. Oh yeah, was I even tagged in that today? I must have been tagged probably. So we'll go find that in just a second. Go find the notifications on Twitter. Here it is right here. Let's go find out how many people are watching. Shout out to everybody on Twitter right now. We have 12 viewers on Twitter. So let's go. 4,000 watching on YouTube. We're also live. You can go find us on Twitter right now. That's a nice car. SOFI Upside Super Micro coming through right now. Go find us. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also find us on X. So thank you to that as well. I'm just getting logged in here to the platform, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. Taking a while, there must be a problem with that. But let's go find out who made the most money. This is who made the most money at Day Trade the World on Friday. So we'll do some calculations here, and we'll wait for Michael Noss, and we'll wait for SMCI to come through as well. Just quick check back on Benzinga. It's out. So we'll get those in a minute. SMCI right now beats 559 versus 493. Sales 4. Wow, big beat here for SMCI. We will talk about this with Benzinga Pro, but let's go over and have a quick look at the action in SMCI. Okay, so yeah, not much. up to 510. So taking out all, highs right there. Let's go over to a weekly chart just to see how high we could fly on SMCI. We're already upside, already at all-time highs. Let's go back to a daily to have a quick little look. So that all-time high, 496. Right now, you're 498 coming through. Nice bottom, 495 trying to hold. The high we got was 510. So SMCI right now, nice beat. It looks like green is beats everywhere, right? Estimates 493 beating by 14% on the upside of that one. The company added quarterly sales, 3.67 billion. That's a beat as well as we start to go. Nice move upside. We'll wait to see if we get any talk here about movements forward. So let's just think about what we're talking about. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Shout out to Hydration Nation. Look, SMCI beat top line, beat bottom line, but ultimately it's right where we are right now at the close. So we'll wait to see, again, well worth it, looking to see if the guide does anything. So if AMD beats and NVIDIA beat, we still need to wait for that guide. So SMCI right now, downside a little bit. Cliffs, wasn't that reporting as well? Uh-oh, guess what? Cliffs is falling off of too easy, 1480 coming in right there for Cliffs. We'll see what's going on right now. 1836 bottom pick there for Cliffs. So again, what are they doing? They have a bottom take. I sure hope for all that noise, people made more than 10 bucks over there. All right, so Cliffs. Cliffs right now, FY steel shipment volumes, 16.5 million versus 16.4 million. Fabian, go find out what happened. I want to know. Go find out what happened over there because maybe it's something we should talk about. SMCI quarterly insights right now. Unfortunately, not much happening there for that, for SMCI. But we already know that move. Here's Cliffs right here. Okay, misses. So minus 5 cents versus 4 cents. Sales, 5.1 billion miss. So right now, nice misses overall on Cliffs. But it's kind of just hanging out here. Nice downside push. Still hovering around there. Not a bad move there for CLF coming through today. Again, transports we could look at. Copper. But right now, not much reporting there. We're still waiting for NUE if that comes out. That's going to be Nucor. Again, not expecting a huge move, but look what Nucor's doing. We've had stocks that have come out near their all-time highs and beat and just blasted up. Look where Nucor is, man. We keep on buying the best names. We're still long Nucor. Not a super sexy name. There is a dividend here. We've seen name X again. Some buyout talk here with Nippon. That's already done. Is Nucor going to be the next name? I don't think that Nucor is going to get too much worry here, but we'll wait for that report to come through. And it's still SMCI. We still wait. Oh, there it is. SMCI right now taking it back up to the upside. So again, nice move, man. Getting rewarded. A beat on sales, a beat on earnings, EPS, and it's a nice upside move as SMCI taking names up 7.8%. We talked about what SMCI's expected move was, 10% and change. There it goes. Nicely done. It's Hydration Nation. We need another one. For that. So SMCI going, gone. So I can't log in right now, unfortunately. We must be having some issues still with being able to log in and out of Prosper Pro 8. So I won't be able to show you too many of the trades that we had today, but I do want to show you something else. We can bring on Michael ASAP. I mean, if we want to talk about trading, I don't know who better to talk about it with than my main guy. It's Michael Noss. Let's bring him in. Like, Michael, I was just going to go over some more trades there, but I'm like, I might as well shoot the shit with you because let's do that right now. What a move now for SMCI. I mean, we're always going to talk about earnings on the show. I want to thank you for coming through. You and I talked a little bit last week, but this is a big movement. Is this something that we should look for from AMD or NVIDIA? SMCI again. This is all-time highs. Oh, that's not all-time highs. Let me just zoom this back out, Michael. Right here. Well, yeah, every tick up right now. New all-time highs for SMCI. Are we to expect that from AMD? Look at this move. We're now breaking higher on that. Wow. What a time to be alive, Michael, and what a time to be long.
Yeah, you have to imagine that a lot of this is going to be priced into
Right.
the Nvidias, the AMDs, to lesser extent, maybe even the Intels. And we do have earnings on a lot of this coming up soon. It feels to me like we are in this just a bit of euphoric state right now that we need to ride as long as we can. A lot of people say, "Hey, we're a little overdone. It's time to sell everything and move on." But like I talked about in my morning chat with you guys, is that I'm just looking for other stuff to buy elsewhere because, right, Nvidia, yes, this is overdone. If we look at SMCI, yeah, that's overdone. But these things can get way wilder coming up. So I'm not one to read or understand the earnings behind this, but obviously what they reported is fantastic. If we hold these gains going into tomorrow, you can only imagine it's going to be good for the SMH, the semiconductor index, which, like you mentioned with SMCI, is new all-time highs pretty much every time it prints an all-time high. So you can only imagine that we're going to see this up in probably the 196s tomorrow.
Yeah, and I was going to say, even here with AMD, I mean, if you come over to my screen, everybody, we're also using, by the way, the Trade Ideas platform. Michael, you guys are killing it over there with all of this. Look at this aftermarket movement here with AMD, taking out 178. It's like we were just up here, and I was like, wow, we're going to close near the high. And there it is again, going back up to the upside. We could zoom back out here to like a 10-minute. We're just now trying to get back 180, 185. We'll see about AMD coming through tomorrow. But yeah, man, all these littler names like SMCI continue to carry everything. But we did get a bad report from Intel. So maybe all right, look, Adara is the queen of all puns. So I'm going to say, is there any Intel on Intel? But that's pretty weak, Michael. But you could see here, if we come back to this, we're now below the 50 period. I'll give you a second to load this up, although you probably already have it. We're below the 50 period moving average. Should we maybe, on strength in the semis, strength in SMH, would you say to pick up weaker names because we've fallen on this, or just stay with the strong names until they fail and forget about Intel? Maybe we wait for the 200 or something. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm selling strength, but this seems to be getting a little carried away. Maybe there's something on Intel that you're noticing.
I think if Intel was going to take part in the whole AI craze, it would have done so already. They've been around for a long time. It
Right.
looks like their chips may not be suited for AI right now, and they may try to chase that. You're going to see a lot of press releases. I'm sure they're going to release and say, "Oh yeah, we're AI too." But it seems like if the market was going to price them in as a big AI player, they would already do it. I bet you, as someone who worked in the hedge fund space for a long time, what's happening in a lot of these shops is they are buying the SMCIs and the AMDs and the NVIDIAs, and they are shorting the Intels, right? Doing a pairs trade so that if the sector does
Right.
top and start to pull lower, I expect that Intel is going to take the brunt of the hit, and these other guys are going to hold up a little bit stronger. I think your line in the sand, Intel is pretty clearly defined now after that earnings report. It was around 45.50 or so where I drew this blue line. That's the gap. If it can get over there and hold over there and get into the gap, I think you could take a shot there. But until that happens, I'm going to stay away from this one.
All right, Michael, it's time to catch a falling knife. Look, you and I have talked a couple times about TAN, all right, this solar ETF. I was always thinking that, hey, if we get a little relief, which we did from Enphase, from Solar Edge, and then some talk about possibly, lowering of the rates and whatnot, that's going to be better. The more you can borrow, the more you're likely to put some solar panels on your house or, commercially as well. But guess what, Michael? We're right back almost near these bottoms again. This is just a daily chart. If I pull out the weekly, we still have more room to go. I look back here to 2020, and of course it's October of 2020. We have to go all the way back to find this support. I look at this and say, hey, it's worth a long against this $40 because if rates continue to go back to the upside, if rates get come back in a little bit, we have the Fed coming on the 31st. Here's end phase as well. That had a nice move there. Look at end phase back down. This is still a weekly chart. There's a lot lower to go. End phase did blast up from 80 up to 140 and is now pulling back as well. But I don't want to play this with individual names, Michael. I want to play this with the ETF. I think TAN looks good, but I mean, it doesn't really look good, but it's supporting it against that 40. I almost think it's worth 10% worth of a shot here. Are we crazy trying to catch this one?
I don't think so, and I say that because I don't think it's a falling knife anymore,
Okay.
right? The natural gas, that's a falling knife. It's
Right.
always has been since it cracked. The thing's just been falling apart forever. What I'm looking at, and I've got some indicators up here in solar, is more of a bottoming out and a basing out. And we're seeing that in a couple of these momentum indicators. So this one I have up here, let me just highlight, this is the RSI. And I talked about this morning. What I'm seeing on the S&P 500 is this negative RSI divergence, essentially saying that this high is taking less momentum than the high before it.
Okay.
We're seeing kind of the opposite here on solar, where even though we have pretty much equal lows here on solar, we see the momentum indicator pushing up, just showing that these bottoms are holding on pretty nicely. And then the other thing is this MACD, right? So just focus on the kind of red histogram here,
Yep.
where it looks like it's kind of coiling back up into green. This is another, the MACD is just two moving averages essentially smoothed out. So showing that there is some short-term momentum kind of switching on solar. And then we have the fact that we're just sitting at this support. So I think we have a clear line in the sand. My trading mentor always said, hey, if you're going to jump out a window, make sure it's the basement window.
Right.
And he would call this a basement window trade, where we know pretty quickly if we get a close below 40, I'm wrong and it's time to go. We're sitting at 44, so we're risking about 10%. So if you add a little bit to your portfolio in solar, again, I love any time that I can say, hey, I'm wrong at this level. So if we're right and this thing goes back to, I don't know, 50 or 60 or even 70, where it was just a few months ago, then you have this great position that you can pair some of and hold some for a long term. So that's what I'm looking at in solar. If we hold here, we push higher. Again, I think this $42 to $40 is kind of our line in the sand.
I like that. We even got smiley faces and frowny faces on the RSI. I mean, we can't go wrong down there. Okay, I'm going to steal that jumping out the basement window, but I'll give you credit for that as well, because I often have those kind of trades live. So we'll talk about that next time. We call them sometimes those flat bottom breaks, but you know, I like the way that looks. Well-defined entrances and exits. That's what it's all about. Okay. Look, heading into a big tech week, we got 32% of the S&P 500 reporting this week. What's up with the US dollar, man? I mean, you and I can look at UUP. I'll give you a second to call it up if you want. I have it up here on my screen. We went for a nice little jog, Michael. Come over here, Fabian. What was that? Fabian. We had a nice little jog here from 27.50. Again, those summertime lows. And we're kind of there now. We had a nice move up to $30. There's some traders that were talking to me on the show, and they were saying, hey, look, maybe we'd like to hedge some of our, just some of our exposure in some of these tech names, because as the US dollar gets weaker, that should be maybe better for some of the tech names. But maybe that's not true here. We've seen some inverted relationships there. So let's throw those relationships out the window and just talk about UUP. So right now we're up to 28 bucks. I like that 27 bottom. I think we could support that. Do you ever recommend possibly buying some US dollars to hedge some positions you have, or do you ever trade the UUP as a sole instrument?
I actually trade the UUP fairly frequently, and for the reason that you stated as well, where there's been this very strong inverse correlation with stocks and the dollar, and it's been that way for a few years now. It's not always that way, and anytime there's a correlation between something, that correlation can end and will end at some point. But what's interesting to me is that we've been seeing this for the last few years, where stocks are up, dollars down, dollar, right, vice versa. But we're not seeing that right now. So as you mentioned, you have this push up in the dollar. Now, you would expect that if stocks are going to continue to push to new highs, that you would have the UUP rollover. And we are putting in a potential little bear flag or a rising wedge here
Right.
that could do that. And if it is, that's going to be a really good trade. But you're right. If you want to hedge against the market, you could buy here and put your stop around that $27 low as a way to go into cash. Now, also, in a high interest rate environment, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going into cash into
Right.
your brokerage account and putting that into something that will yield. So this is my kind of risk on, risk off metric. Now, unless the correlation is completely broken, which it could be, this to me is the most important chart in the market right now because it's not acting the way that it did over the last few years.
The most important chart in the market, the US dollar. You heard it here first, Mr. Michael Noss. See, normally I'd wrap it up right now. This is my show. We're not doing that. I want to ask you one more question. And people in the chat, I said I'd get to this. They want to know about SMCI. So right now, Michael, this is absolutely going. We just hit 540. We are now extended. We had Danielle Shea on the show talking all about options. You've now exceeded the 11% implied move. You're up to 12. We just touched 545, 547. This is in front of 3,000 people right now, Michael. SMCI is pulling back. If we're long this name, let's just say we took a flyer. We're long this name. Let's just pretend we're long the equity. I don't know where people would be long options. So where tomorrow, if everything falls apart, okay, should we be getting something out? At what levels? Let's go talk a little bit about this. I see some banging around here in and around $500, but it's SMCI with a huge move here. We're kind of banging around here as well at I don't know why I'm saying that, at 530 to 535. But yeah, I think that this might be a spot. Take a little bit off right now, but I guess we could still climb higher. Hey, maybe this is the new NVIDIA.
Could be, and this is part of the problem with technical analysis is when something's making a new all-time high, because I've got no levels to play off of
Right.
on this one. For me, 100%, if I was in this name and I saw a print under $500 tomorrow, I'm going to get out because that means that we are about to go red. We have that green to red play that can turn very deadly when you have these news pops that fail. So for me, I would be putting a stop around $500 a share. Like you said, you know, you got a 13% move here after hours. I'd be taking some of that off the table. If I was whenever I'm in a runner, what I do personally, and this is going to be different for everyone, is I pick a moving average, whichever one that you like. You generally use the 8 exponential moving average
Right.
as a trailing stop. It's actually what you see, the moving average you see on the chart here. And the reason I do that is not because it's magic or fancy in any kind of a way, is because then it becomes a very binary choice on when to get out of the trade. Because we all have that moment when we're in something that's an amazing trade, but then we get completely stuck, you know, deer in the headlights. Oh, should I sell now? You know, if I sell now, I'm going to make X amount, and you start counting all the things you could buy with that money. And then you do, and then, you know, you miss this massive run like we're having on NVIDIA or something like that. And I actually, let's use that as an example because I am in some NVIDIA I took on the 500 break, and that is what I'm doing right now. Because when this thing broke out of this level, I have no reference for where I should be taking profits. So instead of trying to guess where that is, I just decided the first close below the 8 EMA, I'm out. And that might mean I leave a bunch on the table, not selling higher, but it also means that I'm still in at 600, which I know if I hadn't applied this rule, I would. So for me, that's just a very simple way to do it. The moving average you pick is going to depend on how long you want to hold. It'll be a 20 if you want to hold for a longer time. It'll be a 5 if you want to hold for a less long time. But just find something that works for you, and then you can just make it a binary decision, and it's no longer impacting your psychology anymore. It's you look every day. If it closed below the moving average, you get out, and if not, then you're still in.
Chartered market technician Michael Noss laying it down for you. Thank you so much. I agree, man. You can never, greed can be good. And that's why your example there on NVIDIA is perfect, because you got to let things ride. SMCI, take a little piece off here and then see what happens moving forward. Mr. Noss, always a pleasure. Hey, how's your little one, by the way? We always forget to talk about how families are going. Growing, healthy, all good?
All good. A little bit bored today. We had a snow day, so kept home from daycare. But all good, super healthy.
Good.
Watches me on the show and yells data as loud as he can, which is just adorable.
So sweet. All right, well, we'll say hi to your son, and we will talk to you, I don't know when, but hopefully soon. It's Michael Noss. Go find him at Michael Noss CMT, both on Instagram and something called Twitter or X. Thank you, Mr. Noss.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Ciao. That's Trader Talk. I mean, I love living. I mean, I would love to live out east, but hey, I mean, here, you know what it is? It's I shouldn't tell this to Michael. It's gorgeous. It's 3 degrees, and snow is pretty hard to find right now. So if you're skiing and everything, not great to be in the GTA, but for right now, we good. All right, so there it is. What do we have to talk about next? Sticky note review. We could do. Unfortunately, I was unable to log into our platform, so I can't show you exactly how I traded it, but let's go have a quick look and we'll review some of the names on there. Who's this handsome gentleman? Oh yeah, that's me. This one is who I mean. That is Brendan Wickens right now. What's up, Brenda? Go check out episode 11 on the podcast. Sean's tweets. We're going to go back and forth here because we got to get going very, very soon. Look at this. Year-to-date performance. Apple, what? Red? Microsoft up 7, Google up 9, Amazon up 5, Meta up 11. Hello, NVIDIA. Hey, in 1 month, you're only up 23%. Nah, we're not in a bubble. And then there's Tesla down 26% in a month. So if you bought some of this and sold some of that, that ain't a bad bucket to be in right there. All right, let's go over something called the sticky note. I never really heard of it until today, but it is the sticky note, and bang, right there. We also have What's Up to Sticky Note Nation. Oops. We'll both put it at the same time. Go find it. I'm going to move it over a little bit. What did we like today? Well, we liked Palantir. Let me switch this over to a 3-minute chart and start talking a little bit about some of these names that we liked. All right, we liked Palantir long, but the problem is it never went down to the levels that we liked. But I'm learning something every single day about the sticky note, and that is most of the time, the direction is going to be right. It's some of these levels, like catch a dip on Palantir. We knew we really liked the name, but there was no dip. So there it is. It started the day and a runner all the way to day's high. That's a banger. You good over there, Fabian? Okay. We also had Microsoft. We wanted that long, and boy, did we have that long. Check out what we wrote down right here. Microsoft, long ahead of earnings. We had 402, good support, but hey, guess what? We bought Microsoft right here at the end of the day. Boom, that to the upside. That was, just a $3 winner if you held it into the close up there to 410. Alert, alert, alert. We're not done yet, though. We had AMD long, and oh my. 1 time. 2 times. It's a 3-time banger. Maybe 2.5 times. As there goes SOFI. Man, we had this one early on. I wish I could show you my trades, but unfortunately, I'm not able to log in at this station. We'll figure that out tomorrow. But we bought this early, man. We bought this in the pre-market. We bought it on the dip. We bought it, and then it closed at the end of the day. We got a lot out here, 930s for SOFI. We wrote down $9. We had the $9 break, and then we also wrote down, by the way, $8.50. $8.50. And look where the bottom is for this. $8.65 bottom. Good day. Look, thank you so much for watching, but you think we're done yet? Ha ha! It's not written on there, but we still have the roll call to go. I forgot to put it on. There's 2,700 of you watching. Thank you so much. We're doing this for you. We're bringing the energy here. We're going over earnings. Let's just check out what did Nucor do. We almost forgot about Nucor. Nucor, hello. We actually said this stock had a chance to go. It's near all-time highs for Nucor, and there it is. It's taking it out, and now we're up to 181 for Nucor. Bang. Thank you so much for watching. Quickly, SMCI, as that is... Ooh, a little bit of a fade. Isn't that funny that when I called Michael up, I'm like, hey, we're at 540. Maybe let's take some profit, but that could be way, way higher tomorrow. All right, it's roll call time. So let's see who's here right now. All right, zoom down, and I'm going to go 100, 100, 100. I'm going to hit some of these hearts. I'm going to hit the like. I'm going to hit the subscribe. Thanks, Sean from Pauly D. Great job today, as always. Thank you so much. Nice trades from Kevin Gonzalez. You must have been watching. Thank you so much for that. It's Igor. It's Igor. Igor is here. Let's go. So right there, what's up to Igor? He's here as well. What's up to BMH? See, Igor, you put Igor. Igor, we sang you a little song. What's up, Igor? Hey, it's the Piper. What's up, everybody? Yo, I know you're here, Daryl, man. Daryl, you know what? Daryl's giving me an idea. Daryl was one of the first traders to ever be on. I know no one's here, so that's not going to work. Daryl was one of the first traders on when we had guest traders on. Maybe we'll have a guest trader on. This is my show. Maybe we'll have a guest trader on at some point. But the problem is the guests are lined up, but I'm going to push them aside. Brian Shannon, move over. Daniel Shea, move over. Michael Noss, hit the road. We're going to have some guest traders on the show. You want that? We'll make that happen. What's up? It's the Piper. It's Daryl. It's Clutch, LFG. God bless you and your family too, CompuCare. See you tomorrow to Lisa. Hey, we haven't seen you here before. What's up to Lisa? What's up to Ona? Oh, Lava One. All right. I'll start taking some applications. What's up to Lava? What's up to Tony Price? Ronald's here and everybody. Jackie's here. You'll do it for free. Well, you think I'm going to pay you? I'm doing this for free. No, you're going to come on the show. We're going to talk about trading, and we're going to do it soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'm back here tomorrow at 8:30. You thought today I had some crazy trades on? Hopefully I can replicate this tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Marissa, I love you, and I'm on my way home very, very soon. Happy 12th birthday to my son. Tonight we go out. Should be a party time. I'll see everybody tomorrow. It's Trader TV Live at 8:30. Thanks for checking the recap show.